Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Come Play podcast. This is episode 39. My name is Tyler, and today we have Bobby and Brendy with us, or with me, rather. Say what's up, guys.
Happy Halloween.
I've never heard you introduce yourself by saying my name is Tyler.
He's done it before.
I know.
He's done it
I'm trying
before.
to mix it up.
He's done it
I'm trying
before.
to be professional.
I don't know how you try to mix it up when you can't even do the fucking outro right 90% of the time.
It's always on my mind. You know what I mean? I got a whole episode. I'm building up to it, and I still
You're building up. You're literally saying in your head during the entire show, "Don't fuck it up. You can't fuck this up. Don't fuck it up." The entire fucking time we're on the podcast. I'm convinced at this point.
Just a quick note to start the podcast, as we did last episode. Episode 40 is coming up next week. It's our big show, our trivia night, and just want to let you know that you should be there. We will figure out a time and post it on our Twitter at Come Play Network to give you guys a heads up. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and this is an episode I've been looking forward to for like 6 months now. So,
are you boys fucking ready, or like
I'm fucking ready for that? Like that's going to be.
I'm so fucking excited.
That's going to be good.
I am so fucking excited.
So Zach's not here, but I do have not a thought of the week, but I just a question I want to ask you guys.
Sure.
So Halloween was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Today is November 1st. Is it acceptable to start getting into the Christmas spirit?
No. Okay. Let me. Hey, can I have? Go ahead, Brendy.
I just want to say, it is acceptable right after Thanksgiving.
Yes. Okay. Wholeheartedly agree. Can I have the mic for a minute here?
You can have the floor. I know you because your mother is a big Christmas fanatic. So
okay. So let me just.
I have another story after that.
Let me just do this real quick.
Okay.
How the fuck are you gonna hate on a holiday where you just eat and watch football? I don't get this. This is my favorite fucking holiday, and every year we're just gonna keep on walking right on over it and fucking going right to Christmas. No, fuck you, man. I want to eat some fucking turkey, watch some fucking football, and do my blessings and prayers of what I'm thankful for and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, I want to do that shit first. Why the fuck do we keep going right to Christmas? No. You guys are absolutely 100% free to go to Christmas on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. You are free to do that. Until then, I don't want to hear no shit. All right? My mother, I love her to death. Hi, Mom. How are you? I love her to death. She immediately gets in the Christmas spirit. And
I would not be surprised if the tree was up today.
Dude, no. So what you're going to start seeing on my mother's Facebook is a whole bunch of Peanuts, like Snoopy and Charlie Brown fucking Christmas pictures. There's a rivalry going on between my mother and my girlfriend at the moment. So my mom, and Tyler knows, he's been in my house hundreds of times at this point. My mom's a huge Peanuts fan. Like, she just loves watching Charlie Brown on the holidays, everything from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas. And my girlfriend hates them, like absolutely despises them. So now my mother just constantly sends her pictures of Snoopy like at least once a day at this point. Like it's a fucking absurd. I must say.
How do you hate Charlie Brown?
So she liked she read the comics and didn't like them, but she said it was because she liked Calvin and Hobbes.
Comics are completely different.
Well, she liked Calvin and Hobbes better, was her reasoning.
Oh, so I like Calvin and Hobbes too. I have like 8 Calvin and Hobbes comic books like near my bedside right now. I'm not even kidding.
So she hates the Peanuts, but she liked Calvin and Hobbes better.
I like them both. I mean, personally, it's like my favorite thing about Calvin and Hobbes was like as a kid, I read them and I related to them. But like with Charlie Brown and Peanuts, it's like it's just funny.
Yeah, no, like, it's just straight up funny.
Two different styles.
That scene in the Thanksgiving episode where Snoopy fights a chair is one of the funniest things ever animated. You can't tell me otherwise. That shit is funny. He literally boxes a chair.
I know when I go on Facebook, I'll get my daily dose of Peanuts. When usually like it's once every couple of days, I usually see your mom post something about Peanuts.
Oh, yeah.
Like at any given time.
She got one of those Cricut things that makes like those vinyl stickers. So she has a Snoopy silhouette on the back of her phone now. Like,
oh really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I this begs the question though. What is your favorite Peanuts moment?
My favorite. I mean, it would definitely be Snoopy fighting the chair. I mean, like I said, I never read the comics at all. But
I didn't either.
I've seen the holiday specials.
Yes, I did.
I've seen the holiday specials on time. I even went and saw the animated movie that came out a couple years ago that was in theaters. We went and saw that. That was okay. It was fun. It was a fun movie. But it was your typical Charlie Brown stuff.
My favorite by far is Charlie Brown getting a rock in his Halloween bag every door.
I got a rock.
I don't know why I always found it funny, like when the characters, the other characters would talk and they would just go wah wah.
Yeah, wah 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 wah. Okay, mom.
So it's. I mean, like that's kind of like a joke that like it's. It's a show for kids and like no parents allowed type of thing. So it's usually the parents that had that type of talking.
Yeah,
I just always found that funny, but I know. So like, Christmas is like my favorite time of year, but I
what the
I know what that was.
What was that?
Okay, so I apologize. I am pulling up stories from various news websites, getting stories for in case you missed it.
And you opened up like one of your porn tabs. Got it.
No, so I don't really want to say what it was because it's
okay.
It's political, so I'm not gonna bring it up. But it's so like the video was already playing, and like my mouse moved over it, like by like briefly, like that's how you heard it cut it in and out.
Yeah.
And like the audio started playing. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like my mouse is moving over the video, and audio is playing.
It's spooky.
There's gotta be like some blocker for that, man.
It's called ad block.
Well, it wasn't an ad though. It was like an actual video.
Yeah, so this is where CBS has annoyed me over the past couple years.
This was from the Huffington Post, by the way.
Yeah, so CBS Sports is the clunkiest website, and I don't get how. Like, it just, I want to read stories on it. And
we were just talking about that before you hopped on.
Literally every article, there's an autoplay video on the bottom of my screen. I literally want to punch my screen. It's that bad. I hate it.
I was just telling Tyler, like, I could be like reading a CBS Sports article about like a kicker, for the Jaguars going on injured reserve, and then a video about LeBron James starts playing.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Like, and it's so stupid. I'll give you a little bit of a pass if it's somewhat related, but the fact that you're reading about a kicker, like, and that's a good analogy. Like, you're reading about a football kicker, and a LeBron James video comes up. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, Tyler, to answer your question, I am not getting ready for Christmas yet. I am in the fall spirit. I have a like fall scented like Yankee Candle plug-in thing in here, so it smells like fucking fall in here right now. I'm in that spirit until after Thanksgiving, and then I will be Mr. Claus going around after that point.
I think Thanksgiving is my favorite day of the year though, because like Thanksgiving, the holiday, is a great day, but it also is kind of like the quote unquote unofficial kickoff for Christmas, like because Black Friday starts like from then on out it's Christmas. But I kind of brought this question up because for one, like for a while I was one of those people. It was like November 1st hit and I was like ready to go. I don't know, not so much anymore.
I've always found Thanksgiving to be easy holiday. Like, I mean, I say
if
that
you're not cooking.
Yeah, when you're not cooking, and I do, but like after that. Right? It's just you sit around, you grab a beer, you eat with your family, you watch some games, and then you go home. Like it's really easy. And like Christmas, it's nice too. I mean, get up with presents and do your thing, but there's still a lot of stress with it where you're kind of running around and this and that.
Yeah, a lot of hustle.
And don't forget, like when you have a big family like I do, like I have 3 Thanksgivings that I'm like preparing for.
Jesus Christ, really?
Like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is like all things like. Not so much Saturday because like Saturday I'm kind of just like meeting with family and like kind of just hanging out, but like I mean that's kind of like one of the big things about Thanksgiving anyway, so I guess that kind of counts.
Yeah, I mean on Christmas Eve I'm in Pennsylvania, and then we don't get home for Christmas until like 2 a.m, and then we're up at like 7 or 8 doing the presents and everything for my immediate family, and then the rest of the family comes over my house and parties. So
yeah, I wouldn't say that Thanksgiving is like my number one favorite. I'm like you guys, but Christmas is probably my top, with Thanksgiving being like maybe second or third.
The thing about Christmas for me is like the Christmas season is definitely number one, but Christmas Day is like there's all this build up. You open the presents and then it's like over.
That's it.
It just feels like
at like 12 a.m. on December 25th, everyone is like over with Christmas.
So when did Christmas stop being like number one holiday for everybody? I mean,
well,
like when did it stop feeling like a good holiday?
Well, like I said, the Christmas season is number one, but like a couple of years ago, like it kind of hit me. It's just like it's every year. It's Christmas Day, and it's just like after a few hours, it's just like it just feels like there's so much build up, and then it's just over that fast. You know what I mean?
Just like as a kid, it's like the best day
depressed.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I would literally get depressed as a kid. I'd be like, oh, all this build up and it's over.
It's over.
But that's why. But like Thanksgiving's awesome because we have our traditions. Me and you go to our high school.
Yeah, we do it this year.
Football game. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Planning right on the podcast.
I think it's home this year.
And wait, and get this, they're actually good this year.
Yeah. When we were in high school, I think our football team won a combined like 2 games over 4 years. And now they're actually like good. Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, not a thought of the week per se, but I just need to put that. And this all got sparked, by the way, because somebody that we used to go to high school with, I seen like post something on Snapchat about like them playing Christmas music, like literally 12:01. I guess this morning or last night, whatever. You know.
Pray for me, because I haven't mentioned this. My roommate is also that person. So, but me and my other roommate put our foot down on that one last year. So we told him no Christmas music till Black Friday, at least that we can hear. If we hear it, we're shutting it down. So we basically pinned him to the wall and threatened him for that.
But yeah, so I guess I filled in a little bit.
Tyler's thought of the week, first ever.
Yeah. I feel great. I think I'm gonna overtake Zach and maybe even give some tracks of the week. I don't know. We'll see.
Zach's fucking fired. His jersey's going up in the rafters for the podcast now. What a fucking bitch.
And we're gonna like glue it up there so it never comes down.
We're gonna use fucking cheap thumbtacks. It's not even worth my glue.
We got to make sure it doesn't come down though. That's the thing.
Right. Once it goes up, it stays up. None of this halfway bullshit he was doing with NHL 19. Jesus Christ.
So today on the podcast, we're going to look at the NFL. It is already the midseason. That's kind of crazy.
Christ.
And we're also going to look at the playoff format throughout sports. And of course, we have In Case You Missed It, as always. But let's start off with the NFL. But yeah, like I said, we're going into week 9 this Sunday. And you look at the league and you know what teams are in the playoffs and you know what teams are out of the playoffs.
Just get yours out of the way. Fucking, I know what you're gonna say.
No. Can we talk about the Falcons first? Because
the kid that never wants to talk. Yeah, let's talk about him.
No. I want to get it out of the way. That's what I'm saying.
Well, here's the thing. So obviously, kind of this segment rather, is going to be based on its kind of biggest surprises, disappointment, and storylines. And let me just get my piece out of the way, because at the beginning of the year,
oh my God, suck my ass.
I'm not. Look, I'm not trying to claim that I'm right or something. This is all I'm saying. How I got easily persuaded. Okay, I looked at the Falcons schedule and said, this is a 5-win team, and everybody's like, no, that blah blah blah, this and that, and I got so much backlash. And then I was like, you know what, I say I really thought about it, but I did get swayed. And I was looking at a lot of...
You got swayed, but like it was like that was out of your control. Like a bunch of shit started happening in the AFC South.
Yeah, there was a lot of things in the AFC South, and then there's a lot of media outlets online that were saying this and that, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. That's what I said. Maybe I'm wrong. And I said that was a 5-11 team, and I got swayed. And on this preview show, I said that they were going to make the playoffs at I think like 10-6 or 11-5. And now they're 1-7, and that is a case, folks, of stick with your gut, because I was right about the Falcons, and then got persuaded to be wrong about the Falcons.
The Falcons are now in contention for Tua.
Yeah.
The Falcons aren't going to draft Tua if they get the first pick. I would be surprised. They got Matt Ryan. They don't need Tua.
I mean,
please.
Well, I was gonna say they wouldn't, but like Matt Ryan is getting up there.
Yep.
So.
Well, I mean, they're not going to draft another or they're not going to draft a quarterback this year. But so going back to the AFC South and like how the Falcons were scheduled to play the AFC South this year, they only play one more AFC South team, and it's in Week 16. It's the Jaguars, and like we're 0-3 against the AFC South this season, and like we lost to a Indianapolis Colts team without Andrew Luck, a Tennessee Titans team, which at that point like was severely struggling. They seem to be kind of on the rebound right now.
Yeah.
And then the Houston Texans, who I honestly probably thought the Falcons were going to lose to anyway. But that is a disappointing record to go against. Like probably, like at least at the time, one of the worst divisions in football. And now I would argue that the Falcons, you said 5 wins. I'd argue they're going to get less than that this rest of the season.
Well,
because one more point. I just want to say 3 out of 4, or not 3 out of 4. So 3/4 of the games that they have left are division rivals. So they're not going to win any of those.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't really they haven't really.
And then they play the 49ers, who I'm sure you're going to gloat about later. But
look, you guys are hyping this up. I mean, yes, I'm going to talk about them, but
you literally fucking called me just to make a point how right you were.
He called me too.
Did he call Brendy? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, dude. Like the shit I was getting for that, I had to say something. Oh, but this is what I'm gonna say about the Falcons. One, we were talking about the AFC South as like this division that there's a lot of weaknesses, right? You had at the beginning of the season Andrew Luck retired. You think the Colts are going to be bad. The Titans, for me, I thought we were going to do well this year, but it was kind of half and half. And I thought the Texans and Jaguars would struggle. You're looking at a division where there's not one team under 500, so it's kind of crazy how. And not just us, but everybody's kind of predicting the AFC South to be really bad again. I want to say like the best record, or I think the best record we had was I had the Titans at 10-6, but like other than that, like you guys had them at like the division winner at 9-7 and 8-8, and like this division is one of the better divisions in football just because of the consistency of the division. So it is kind of crazy how the narrative for the Falcons was you play AFC South this year, and there's definitely winnable games, and then you look at the AFC South and it's really something.
And the Falcons are on the bye this weekend, and I could not be like happy.
I know. I think the Broncos play this week, and I think next week or the week after they're on their bye, and it's just like, thank God. Just I don't need to see that shit right now.
What do you think about your name tree saying that Atlanta should delete itself, Brendy?
I completely agree. I think Arthur Blank should sell the team and put all the money into Atlanta United and get a soccer superstar.
This man's all about soccer in the United States. Love to see it.
Yes.
But looking at the NFC South right now in general, I mean, the New Orleans Saints, you looked at a time, I think it was week 2 or 3, Drew Brees goes out with an injury that says could be possibly missed, 6 games, 8 games, whatever. Teddy Bridgewater comes in and plays really well, which begs the question. It's kind of an interesting situation in New Orleans because Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He is, I believe, 39 now. You would assume, although you look at Brady and you don't know, that he might retire soon. And Teddy Bridgewater really came in and did some stuff, but it's like the situation for Bridgewater is there's a lot of teams out there right now that need a quarterback.
Right.
So does he stay? Does he go? Like I think that'll be interesting.
I have a bold prediction.
You have a bold prediction.
If you're saying he's going on the Patriots, I swear to fucking God.
No, I'm not. No, I am not.
Okay,
I'm not
continue.
that up my own ass. Okay. Andy Dalton leaves Cincinnati, and Teddy Bridgewater goes to Cincinnati if they don't win the Tank Bowl.
Yeah, I mean that's not too hot.
I mean, I think like it's kind of crazy how there's so many teams in the league in need of a quarterback, and it's just kind of crazy, like because I mean I think quarterbacks drive the league.
Yeah.
And it's a passing league. Yet there's so many teams that are just struggling for a quarterback. I think I was actually a little bit surprised. I thought Andy Dalton might be dealt at the deadline, just to give. I mean, because that's a guy who he's actually not been playing. I mean, he hasn't been good. Don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been playing terrible. It's kind of like a lot about the defense and stuff like that. I mean, their defense is dead last. But to trade him to a team that maybe needs like or is on the needs like that fringe starter or something. But yeah, it's again the quarterback situation around the league. I mean, I can attest I've been saying this really since Peyton Manning retired and we won the Super Bowl. Like the Broncos have been in need of a quarterback since then, and like I would love a Teddy Bridgewater. But it's going to be interesting because do you stay there and take over the Saints job when Breeze is gone, or I mean, because that's a guy, that's a backup. He's definitely, I think, the top like backup that would be looking to get paid as a starter. So it'll really be interesting with that. But yeah, I think looking at the NFC South, like I said, I mean, you got the Saints at 7-1, and then the rest of the division is kind of. I mean, the Falcons are 4-3. They got walloped their last game though against the 49ers, and that begs the question, like, how good are they?
You said the Falcons are 4-3.
I meant the Panthers.
I about to say, I fucking wish, my dude.
What the fuck did Goodell do last night? Jesus Christ.
I actually feel like I did say the Falcons, but
I know you did. I heard it.
I meant the Panthers.
That's without Cam.
Yeah, well, that is true. Actually, that is without Cam, and Christian McCaffrey has been an MVP candidate. He's definitely been one of the best players for fantasy purposes. I'll tell you that.
I can't help but laugh every time I hear his name now because of the whole Madden thing that happened when the game got released, dude.
By the way, he apparently slid into the DMs of it's either I don't know if it was Miss Universe or Merit something, but he's now dating her. So this guy is a superstar on the field and off the field. So yeah, I mean Christian McCaffrey's living a life.
Oh, what was the clip of Jimmy G going around?
So last night after the game against the Cardinals, I seen the clip and I forget what he said word for word, but he was basically interviewing with Erin Andrews, who she's a beautiful woman, and he said something. She asked him a question and he said like, "Yeah, baby," or something like that, or something baby, and then she got a reaction out of it, and everybody was just like, "Look at Jimmy G, like being a superstar here."
Yeah, Barstool was like, "When Jimmy G calls your girl baby, it's his now, or she's his now."
Yeah, and something like it was something. Like I said, I can't remember the whole clip, but that was essentially what it was.
I saw it going around. I didn't really get a chance to watch it.
But yeah, Jimmy G. I guess I mean, look, since we're talking about
there's
Jimmy
your
G,
segue. You're fucking welcome, kid.
Look, I thought the 49ers were going to be a fringe playoff team and would be good. I mean, even myself didn't think they were going to be this good. I mean, they're literally undefeated. There was the talk about, well, I should say the talk on this podcast by these two knuckleheads. After like the first 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, look at the 49ers, they're undefeated. And they went, oh, they haven't played anybody, blah, 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 this and that, which to an extent that was true. But then I think it was after they beat the Rams. That's when I had called you guys and it was like, this team, I'm telling you, this team is for real. And that defense is unbelievable. Like I remember that Rams game. I think there was 3 times where the Rams went on it for fourth. It was like fourth and less than 2, and they stopped them all 3 times, like convincingly. That defense is just stout. And Nick Bosa,
good to see him in the spotlight again.
No, Nick Bosa, rookie
Bro,
out of Ohio State.
What the fuck, dude?
He might be better than his brother, who's on the Chargers. Like that's how good he's been.
He's a tank, dude. Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I mean, and Jimmy G, I think I just seen a stat before we got on the podcast that he is 14-2 since becoming a starter. This guy, this was a quarterback. I remember we were talking in the preseason. Remember, it was like he was not good at all. Like he looked terrible, and everybody was like, "Oh, I don't know, Jimmy Like, is he the guy? And what do they do? Come out and they're 8-0. And I guess as a Broncos fan, it was tough to see Emmanuel Sanders go. He was the heart and soul of the Broncos, but he did go to the 49ers, and it's been great to see because in his first 2 games, he has 2 touchdowns and has really thrived there. And that's a really good guy, and it's nice to see him do well. And hopefully he can go get another ring. But yeah, I mean that team is, again, I had them finishing 9-7 and getting a wild card. I didn't even see this coming, but
yeah. So don't act like.
No, I'm not. Look, hey, I'm only acting like that because you guys put so much. You guys I don't want to say disrespect me. You guys roasted me so much for me saying that they were going to go 9-7.
Because everything on paper said otherwise, dude.
Tyler, in my defense, like
you're on drugs.
I've already taken the L, Tyler. I don't know if Bobby has.
No, I'm evened out because of my Colts pick last year. That's what I am.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Like, I feel like each year we've had like one pick. It's like everybody else was like, no way, and then it actually. But no, I mean, again, come on. Did you really think I was going to predict the 49ers going 8-0 to start the season? Like, no, but but the way like I think you both had them at 4 wins, and I was like, that is disrespectful.
Yeah, I had them at 4-12.
And then all this and that, like 9-7, you're crazy, and then this. So,
well, so it was hard for me to believe in them, like seeing as how like what they did last year. Like, how do they go 4-12 to 8-0? Like,
well, yeah.
What were the big moves? Was there anything? I don't remember.
Well, I mean,
Jimmy G came back.
Look, they got Nick Bosa, and I know like it's only one player, but they drafted Nick Bosa, and he's been absolutely dominant, and he's probably your leader for Defensive Player of the Year. He's just been so good, and that defense got better. They added some pieces in the secondary. I know they added Quan Alexander at linebacker, so they did add pieces to that defense. And again, like I said, that was the thing I was most impressed with, or have been most impressed with, rather, is that their defense is just so stout. Their run defense is really good. So, or I should say, it's really good on certain situations, and I don't know. That's the thing that stands out for me. And George Kittle continues to be one of the best tight ends in the league, which is so frustrating. I know I always bring it back to the Broncos, but so frustrating. Excuse me, frustrating as a Broncos fan because, the year that the Broncos drafted Jake Butt, that tight end, they needed a tight end. I think it was like a pick later. The George Kittle got picked, and we could have had him. Except now we got Jake Butt, who hasn't even seen the field because of knee problems. So now, looking at the NFC West in general, though, again, another really good division. Seahawks are 6-2, a team that I think most of us had as a fringe playoff team or a playoff team. But Russell Wilson, MVP candidate for sure. And the LA Rams, a little bit surprising, 5-3. I gotta ask a question, and I know that we had talked about this during the Super Bowl, but it's continuing to be a problem for the Rams. To me, Todd Gurley looks shot. Like, his knees are.
He's hurt, man. Like, he's really hurt.
I was gonna say, I mean, this sounds like, I think, I don't know. I thought I heard something about like arthritis in his knees or something. Yeah, it was something like that. And I mean, this is a guy that last year was an absolute beast. I mean, he was the top running back. I mean, he was scoring like 2 touchdowns per minimum.
Top fantasy pick. Like he was all that in a bag of chips. Yeah, everywhere I read was arthritis so far. And as somebody who has arthritis in their back, it sucks. Like, arthritis sucks. Like, don't take it lightly. It's not like, oh, it just aches a little. No, it can hurt every now and again. Like, spasms and everything like that. It can fuck you up.
So, like, because I'll be honest, I over the offseason, like, I really didn't follow it too much. And I was like, oh, he'll get surgeries if he needs to or whatever. And then like I was looking at like the fantasy draft boards this year and assuming he would be like the top guy since he was a beast last year. And then like you have to like go all, like down a lot to I was like, what is going on? And like I said, apparently the injuries have really or his knees are really giving him a problem.
Here's
So
what's funny though is that he still has 6 touchdowns.
I mean, yeah, he's
Like,
still
having a year. Like, it's let's look at something. Let's look at his stats.
Like, there is flashes for him, but I just like it's kind of one of those things about like the eye test. Like I watch him run, and like sometimes there's points where he looks like he's 85 years old, and it's just like really depressing.
So let's
because this guy's a
compare.
beast.
I'm gonna try and compare like season to season, right? So we're what? How many games in? 7?
Wait, so it's week. We're coming up on week 9.
We're coming up on week 9. I'm trying to just, if it would just fucking. Sometimes these reference sites are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a point last season for Todd Gurley where I think he was like he either like broke the record or was on pace to break the touchdown record.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
So in 14 games, because he did have a couple injury things plus the bye. Last year he rushed 256 times for 1,251 yards and 17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
So over a touchdown per game.
Easily.
Yeah.
And then in 7 games, he's rushed 92 times for 355 yards and 6 touchdowns. So I would estimate based on those stats, if we're coming up on week 9, then he'll probably maybe get. Are you good? Are you all right?
Did you hear my computer?
Yes, I did. I'm just wondering if you're having a stroke. Are you good?
No, I'm good. Continue.
Sorry. Okay, just making sure, bud. I would assume he probably has at least 10 touchdowns.
Maybe. So here's the stat that is kind of crazy. The carries, right?
Yep.
Last year, you said he had what 256.
Yeah. So let's go here. So he's only played 5 years, or well, this is his 5th season. So starting in 2015 with his first year when he was playing for the St. Louis Rams. 229, followed by 278, followed by 279, followed by 256, and now at 92, about halfway through the season.
Right. So that's the thing for me is the carries he's getting per game. Yeah. They're not using him like he was being used. That's because I mean I would think at least because of his problems, and that's the concerning thing. I mean, what you said 92 rushes so far this year,
yeah,
and he's played 7 or 8 games. I mean,
this is confusing. He's still leading.
Leading what? Leading their. What do you mean?
How many carries? By like a lot.
Well, they do.
Are they just relying on Goff more?
Well, they have been passing a lot more because I know Goff is, I think, leading in like total yards on offense or something like that right now.
Look at that, and then go to their rushing and receiving. This is from we're looking at Pro Football Reference, just for the record, just for what we're looking at here. This is really weird to look at actually because we're talking about how invisible it seems like Gurley has been. Yet compared to the other running backs, it's not like they're splitting time. I haven't been able to watch much of the Rams. But I mean, Gurley is definitely a different player than he was last year. But it's still interesting the fact that his carries have been slashed by a lot. Like I would assume he'll maybe double what he has. So if he gets like 184 carries at the end of the season, that's still like 20, 40, 60, 70 less than the year before. But he's still leading in carries on his team by a pretty massive margin. So it's weird looking. So
I mean. So there is a discrepancy. I mean, I will say that like we're looking at rushing attempts at 92. Another stat would be just total touches in general out of the backfield and stuff like that, which he has 107. But I know the Rams like to do a lot of jet sweeps and stuff like that with Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks. So I know that's kind of been a rushing thing they like to do. Darrell Henderson is a guy that I really like, and I do think, Yeah, I do think he's going to be a guy that might honestly take over for Todd Gurley if Todd Gurley can't be what he once was. But it just seems very down, and he just he doesn't have that explosiveness that he once did, I guess, is the thing for me. And it is tough to watch because, a guy that was so explosive and so good last year. I mean, he was a potential MVP, candidate, and now it's just not working out, and it's tough to see. But I had to ask that because I think a lot of, I mean, obviously when you go from a guy that was a potential MVP to, not saying Todd Gurley has been bad per se, but he's not what he once was. I mean
Something's
that,
different. Something is very
yeah,
different with him. And it's kind of sad. I was a huge Todd Gurley fan. Just watching him was fun. Like just watching him just completely explode once he got the ball was just insane to watch.
yeah,
It just doesn't happen anymore. It's not even his fault.
yeah,
It just I compare it to kind of what happened to Markel Falls, but in a less, fucked up
yeah,
way where, he was all that. You could shoot from anywhere. Same thing with Gurley. I mean, the man, could just dance around defenders and, make plays out of nothing. Like he was that running back, right? Then he hurts his knee, and then all of a sudden the things that made him as good as he was and top of the boards every year, it seems to be gone at this point just because he can't even get his legs to work for him the way he wants. It's kind of it's got to be frustrating for him.
and for the Rams, I mean, their division is extremely good this year, and they're 0-2 in the division right now, with losses to the 49ers and the Seahawks. And I mean, you look at where the 49ers are at right now. For the Rams, I mean, it looks like, they're 3 games back in the division right now. You have the Seahawks ahead of you as well. It's like they really need to make some magic happen, I think. They also, I mean, their big acquisition was getting Jalen Ramsey, and he's one of the better corners in the league, and
Fuck
looks like.
you,
Well, yeah,
Jalen
we've
Ramsey.
talked about him before for his off the field quotes and stuff like that, but um,
He's still to me. I listen. He's a very talented player, but Jesus Christ, dude, come on.
he's one of the I think he's probably like one of the biggest trash talkers in the league. I don't even
Oh,
think
okay,
like his
sure.
media stuff even. Like I've heard, like I've listened to like mic'd up stuff with him, and this dude is just like does not he like basically doesn't play with a mouthpiece so he can talk like more. Like that's
How
how
do you not play
the guy
football with
is.
a mouthpice, man?
Well,
I
I don't know.
barely want to play any sport
I'm
anymore
pretty
without a
sure,
mouth guard.
like the guys that I don't get is like I've seen like Deshaun Watson and Cam Newton, like not only not have a mouthpiece, but they'll chew gum while they're playing. Like, what are you doing? You trying to choke and die?
You
Like,
literally can only do that in baseball and golf. Like I don't know what the fuck. Like I don't even know. I never chewed gum in sports. I know. I feel like it's a thing for some people. People focus on that stuff for some reason, especially in basketball. There's a specific like elite league of gum chewers in apparently in the NBA. I don't know. I remember hearing a conversation in class or something where two guys were just talking basketball, and he was like, "Oh yeah, did you see what's like Steph Curry switched to chewing gum or something?" I'm like, "That's a thing? Like you're
yeah.
paying attention to that? The
I
fuck?
mean, it just
It's
it's more
weird."
for me. It's like, how can you, like, as a quarterback? I mean, you're eligible to get hit every play.
Yeah.
Like, basically, I mean, or at least half of them. Like, it's kind of crazy to me.
Wait,
But
off topic question.
mm,
Have you ever done the smelling salts or whatever they
smelling
are?
sauce, no. But I
No.
kind of want to try it just
Me
for
too.
fun.
You want to do that live one day?
Yo, I actually though, like that would be, I would. Yo,
All right.
I feel like that is like it just opens you up. Like I feel like it's good for you, man. Like
Well,
you can
so
fucking breathe.
I did actually. I'm gonna sound like a complete dork when I reveal this real quick, and I'll try not to take up too much time. I was curious about them because for a while in college I was pulling a lot of all nighters, not out of choice, just out of
Yeah,
pure necessity.
yeah,
Um, and it wasn't good for me. And I'm a coffee drinker anyway. And coffee for me doesn't like hype me up. I mean, it gives me, the I guess fuel to, wake up a little bit in the morning. But for the extreme cases of when I had to pull an all-nighter and then I had to go to a 9 a.m. class the next day, uh, I was starting to wonder. I'm like, these smelling salts seem to wake you up pretty easy. They smell like shit, but does it work? So I did a stupid amount of research on what these things do and what they are. So I mean, the main purpose of them is to wake up unconscious people, like in an emergency situation.
Yeah.
So I read that, and I was trying to find, I'm like, are there any cons to this, like at all, like anything, like kind of like how finally they figured out what's wrong with vaping, like this exact thing, like just trying to find, is there anything actually wrong? And the only thing I could find is that there was some medical study. I can't even cite it. I don't even know if I could find it again if I tried. But they were saying that the main con of smelling the salt was that you might break your neck from jolting from the smell. So you got that going for you. I think me and Ty might do a Twitter video or something of us trying it for the first time. You played hockey for years and never did it. We suck.
Because I feel like it's very prevalent in the NHL. Like,
yeah,
I feel
everybody.
Like out of any sport, like that's a sport where I see it the most.
Yeah.
And I would want to try that one day. So
we'll do that. I'll see you on Thanksgiving, bud.
But yeah. So looking at the rest of the league, or actually, I want to focus on the NFC East real quick. This is a surprise to me. So the Eagles, for me, were the team that I picked to have the best record in the league. I said that I can only see 2 losses on their schedule, and they're right now at 4-4. And the Cowboys are at 4-3, and
fuck you.
This brings me back to God. I felt like
fuck this fucking team.
For years, I would say like back in the late 2000s and then started like 2010 and up, like for a while it was the NFC East was won by a team that won 8-8 or 9-7. Very frustrating. And here we are again halfway through the season. The team leading the division is 4-3, and 2 teams that again I thought would both do well, and I thought would both make the playoffs, and look where we are. I mean, they're 4 like I said, 4-3 and 4-4.
We got it. God, we got it. Okay, let's go to the Eagles real quick. Like,
yeah,
how?
I think for them, they're getting exposed. Their secondary is absolutely hot garbage.
We knew this though. Like that's the thing. Like we knew this.
We did. And I thought I thought.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack real quick and correct myself, because in the past episode, so the Eagles' defense was ranked pretty high this year. So naturally, I drafted them in 2 leagues. So, I guess what I'm confused about is what changed between. They had a pretty damn good defense last year. What changed between then and now? Like, I don't get it.
Their defense is really good up front. Like, they have one of the best D lines in the league, but I think that they thought they have a couple good players in their secondary, and they thought that they could that could make up for, I guess, I don't know how to say this, but the not so good players there. Like, there could be some makeup, and it hasn't been that. And like, that's been an area to attack against the Eagles. I mean, if you have a deep threat, like those guys have been going off against the Eagles because their secondary is just not
non-existent.
Good. And I will say, I mean, on their offensive side too, I also predicted Carson Wentz to be the MVP this year, which that is a big old.
So okay, I have to ask this question.
Go for it.
Is he it? Is he still the guy?
Well, so
because this conversation has absolutely picked up steam recently.
Well, you know why? It's because, and by the way, I just want to mention real quick, Brendy's having some internet issues. That's why he's not talking.
Yeah. So you might actually get some more minutes out of this segment because of that, actually. Because we gotta.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. But no, I think it's kind of picked up because a lot of the Eagles fans, when they were struggling, were like, we had Nick Foles, and he got us a super. Like, it's all about recency bias and what have you done for me lately. and Nick Foles got them a Super Bowl. And Carson Wentz, I mean, obviously he had a great regular season to get them in the playoffs, but they don't remember that. They remember Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl. And every time Carson Wentz struggles, always goes back to Nick Foles, which that is another interesting situation because I feel so bad for him.
Like, he can't catch a break, man. Like, I mean, I said after he wins a fucking Super Bowl, but
yeah, like, because and I will say this: I was a big Gardner Minshew guy out of college. He was a beast at Washington State, and everybody really gravitated toward him because of the way he looks. The mustache.
They literally only gravitate to him because of the fucking look they had. Him and his dad.
So there's that, but I mean, Gardner Minshew has been really good, and this is a guy who I think was a 5th round pick, and that was their backup. And it's like, oh, if Nick Foles goes down, like, oh, that's not looking good. Well, Nick Foles goes down in the first half of the first game, and Gardner Minshew's got this team, at 500, and they're playing well. I just. It's going to be one of those situations where when Nick Foles is healthy, who do you turn to? And I always feel bad for Nick Foles, but circling back to the Eagles, this is why this conversation is coming up, because of the whole argument. Oh, it's like we had Nick Foles. I believe Carson Wentz is the guy. I really do. I also want to say this. I think Doug Peterson, when Nick Foles came in to those playoff games and Super Bowl, he drew up a great game plan and really let him succeed in that system. And honestly, maybe, I don't know, maybe things need to be simplified or something. Something has to give. And another thing for the Eagles is they have been banged up, wide receiver wise.
Yeah,
Sean Jackson has been
what
out.
the hell? Because that receiver core, holy fuck. When they got all those signings done, that was scary.
Yeah, and obviously injuries are always going to, but I feel like for this Eagles team, it was, last year and this year, it's the same story. It's like every week a few guys are going down, and like I said, I think Deshaun Jackson's supposed to be back this week or the next. Yeah, I think he's supposed to be back this week. I'm not sure, but Alshon Jeffrey's been kind of hit and miss all year, and oh God, Nelson Aguilar has had a interesting year. I'll say that. A lot of Eagles fans are absolutely pissed off at him for his lack of effort, I guess.
that clip.
Yeah. But I don't know. I in my opinion, I think he's the guy. What about what are your thoughts on him?
So I'm looking at Wentz's numbers currently, and and by the numbers, he's still a great quarterback right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, just go look at that Pat. I guess for me, the question is rely on him. I'm trying to word this the right way, because it's one of those things that it seems like he's been so off his game, but the funny thing is that his numbers are still there. That's what's really weird about this. And I it's hard for me to. I don't think we're right. The Eagles are ready to give up on him yet, and they shouldn't. I think there's still a lot of upside to him. I mean, this is only his 4th season, so he's got a lot of career left, and a lot of growing left to do for this team. And there's no character concerns. There's no stuff like that. What might hurt him is with the injury history he already has. If that starts to flare up a little more, or if somehow he just completely falls off the wagon. And I think also it's one of those situations where Philly has fallen in love with him as a person too. Yeah. So if he falls off the wagon, how long are they going to keep clinging onto the strings? It's going to be a weird thing to see. But no, I think I'm with you here. I think he's still the guy for right now. However, I don't know how heads don't get chopped off after this season. I mean, you do not get blown out to Dallas that bad. You can't.
Yeah,
and also
I think
lose to Atlanta and Detroit.
Well, I was gonna say that Atlanta game they're gonna want back, not just because how bad Atlanta is, but that I remember watching that game. They had a lot of chances, and they ended up losing losing it in the last minute, but that's a game they're going to want back. And obviously every team has that, but I think they have had winnable games, and there is something sometimes I don't know if it's execution or if it's just decision making coaching wise, I don't know, but there's just something that's not there with them. And like I said, their big concern is their secondary is just getting it's burnt toast, and they're getting exposed. So I think that's a major concern, and I know they were looking for a cornerback. I mean, that was a team that was all in on Jalen Ramsey, and they were pissed that they didn't get him. And another name that was coming up was Chris Harris Jr. for the Broncos. He was rumored to go there, but nothing ever happened. And it's now you're relying on these guys, and I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Now they do have. I know they do have a game with the Patriots coming up. They play Chicago this week. But they still have games against Washington. I mean, the bottom of their division, of course, is not very good. So
they
you can
have
make up games there. But
the Pats actually next week. It looks like.
yeah, I was gonna say I knew they're coming up soon.
Wow, holy shit! Another 4:30 game. I get to watch the Patriots again. And then Seattle, Miami. I swear to God, if you don't beat Miami. Giants, Skins, Cowboys, Giants. I'm trying to figure out if the game versus the Cowboys might mean something at that point.
I was gonna say that second game against the Cowboys is gonna be one that's gonna be that's a huge game. Like
that might be a massive game actually. That's a couple days before Christmas Eve. So,
okay.
Yeah, so that might be a massive game.
Yeah, so I was gonna say the Eagles are an interesting team. I mean, same thing goes for the Cowboys. Really, like they're kind of struggling. I can't really put my finger on them though.
on who? Sorry, I missed.
The Cowboys.
Like, Dak Prescott.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, a lot of like I know the game against the Jets they lost, and that's a tough one for them to lose. But I don't know, like
he's throwing an interception every goddamn game.
Well, I was gonna say
and I mean that both literally and I'm looking at his stats, and that's what's happening.
Like I remember the game against the Cowboys, the Packers. He threw I think like 3 or 4 interceptions, but like he also threw 2 or 3 more that were called back like due to penalty or something. But I don't know. It's just again with this division, it's interesting, and I do want to move on because I don't want to keep too much time on this division, but.
Whoa.
Did we lose Tyler?
I think we did.
Oh well.
I thought that was me. I thought that was me for a second. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Looks like we're having some internet trouble. So it looks like Tyler might have lagged out of our call. So, Brendy, I know you were having internet troubles. Is there anything you wanted to
I'm good now.
Okay.
No, I'm good now. I just had to reset it really quick.
Okay.
But
anything you want to add to the
Tyler. Well, I was just gonna say really quick, Tyler, when he has internet problems, there's no telling when he's coming back.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep an eye on this. But meanwhile, we can kind of just keep talking.
You're gonna have some catching up for me.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on a lot. We were just kind of hopping around the league and just talking about just kind of hitting different points around the league. Obviously, the 49ers we talked about, and we also talked about we're currently talking about the Eagles and the Cowboys. We were asking the question, or I asked the question about whether we still believe Carson Wentz is still the guy for Philly. Anything to say to that one yet?
So it's really hard to tell. There's a part of me that wants to say yes because Carson Wentz is like a very good quarterback.
Mm.
And he has that Super Bowl champion, even though he didn't start it under his belt. He got a Pro Bowl, he got an All-Pro. Part of me does want to say yes. But a part of me is also like saying no because 2 main reasons. One, he's severely injury prone.
Yep.
And number 2, the Eagles have won just fine without him. like with a mediocre quarterback at best.
Well, do you think Nick Foles is a mediocre quarterback?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean he's the backup in Jacksonville right now. Well, I was just gonna say like part of that is also because Minshew is
a beast.
Is a beast. But no, I don't really think. And I will say maybe the Eagles will win, a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. But I think they could. I think what I'm trying to say is like they're a well stacked team, or they they're struggling a little bit this season. But I think they're a well stacked enough team to the point where they could win with just about any average or above quarterback is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna have it. I mean, I was saying that their receiver core is fucking insane. They just can't stop getting hurt is their only problem right now because Deshaun Jackson's been out. And then Aguilar kind of had a little bit of a fall from grace. He needs to kind of pick his shit up. But otherwise, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, like those guys are going to, are huge for quarterbacks like Carson Wentz. And not to mention Zach Ertz is there. So, we were just talking about that as well. Oh, you back?
Live. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say the wonders of live podcasting. After Brendy came back from his internet problem,
you froze so well. You froze so well. I thought it was me. Like I thought I was having one of those outages again because Brendy wasn't saying anything, and then he was like, "Oh wait, did we lose Tyler?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, it's not me." That's great.
Which is unfortunate because I had segued. So I don't know what the last thing you heard was, but I was trying to move on to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I mean we were. I guess what I was just asking Brendy the Carson Wentz question, but since we're kind of back in, we definitely do need to move on. Any last like small points you want to hit, biggest disappointments, or maybe even predictions? Is there anybody who's going to have a bounce back? What are we thinking here, boys?
Well, I was going to say for me, I think the Cleveland Browns at 2-5 is a huge disappointment. That's what I was.
I'm so mad at that.
Like I feel like I was the one. I feel like I was the one person that was like, what the why are y'all so high on Cleveland?
I think I had them for the division, didn't I?
I think I had them in the playoffs.
I think it was me. Nice voice crack, dumbass.
Shut up. You had the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, so I don't want to hear
it. You're an Atlanta fan.
Wow. I've already accepted that L of the year, so.
Yeah, I know, 28 times.
Yeah, hilarious. Very funny.
But I don't know. I think the Cleveland Browns for me have been a big disappointment, and Baker Mayfield has gotten testy with reporters. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I saw that clip.
That come up, but he's getting frustrated. It's clear. Another team that's been disappointing for me, the Chargers. I don't know. They're just missing something. I can't really put my finger on it. Yeah, really. I really can't put my finger on it. And I will say the Vikings have had a nice bounce back. Remember, it was like a couple weeks ago we were talking about is Kirk Cousins actually anything? And look at him now.
Kirk.
I'm pretty sure he just got named Offensive Player of the Month or something like that too. He bounced back hard.
Yeah.
So for me, those are some teams to highlight.
Yeah, I mean, so oh my god.
Also, by the way, Chicago Bears struggling.
How?
Yeah, that defense is insane. I don't know.
How? Fucking how?
Actually, I'll tell you how. Mitch Trubisky is
shit.
Oh yeah, he's God. A lot of people are like, I know if you're into betting, a lot of people are like, man, Mitch Trubisky, look at these odds, blah blah blah. Holy fuck, is he holding that team back? It's crazy.
Is he the next Mark Sanchez essentially here? Is that what we're looking at?
I mean, look, I think that it's the same situation that the Broncos are going through right now. I know, again, always going back to the Broncos.
Well, when your team is a dumpster fire in more than one area.
Well, I'm allowed to. Well, we were just talking about before the show. The Broncos right now are 2-6, but are 4th in total defense in the league. But they're 2-6, and that's because of their offense. And it's the same thing with the Bears. If you go down to number 7, the Bears are number 7 in all defense. And, they're struggling as well, and just because of their offense. And you look at their offense, and it's really been Mitch Trubisky that's struggling. And they had a heartbreaking loss last week. It's one of those things where the guy was like, "Oh, we finally found our kicker," and then you have one miss like that last week to lose a game, and then all those thoughts pop up again. So,
oh my god, dude.
Yeah, it'll
Oh
be
my
interesting how
god.
you bounce back.
The double
Yeah.
doink.
So I mean, those are some questions.
Oh, Pat's decided to also make another kicker change. Looks like.
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna say Gostkowski was hurt, and is he on IR? Like I don't even know.
Yes, he's out for season. So he had hip surgery, was what happened. So he had season-ending hip surgery. So he'll be back next season.
But he was struggling. I was like, something's gotta be wrong.
Yeah, something was up with him. I mean, he's robotic.
Yeah.
Honestly, he'd be like best kicker in the league if Tucker still didn't exist. Like just it's absurd. No, so he had season-ending injury. It came out of the blue really because there really wasn't any reports on it. But I guess it was just him struggling that bad. It's like, no, just go get better so you don't hurt yourself even worse, kind of thing. But then Patriots have made some weird moves at kicker and punter, which is just so weird to think about. But that's what's been happening with them recently. I have no idea. No fucking idea. Anyway.
I mean, I think to wrap up this segment, I think there is some interesting. I mean, look, a lot of it is the same. Patriots 8-0 is not surprising, and I think, and Kansas City leading the AFC West. Green Bay is another thing that I hit that I'm pretty proud of. Green Bay is 7-1. I thought they were going to be a bounce back this year.
Let's talk about that fucking game last week. Dear God.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
I've never got 21 points in fantasy off a single touchdown before.
It's funny because me and Brendy, I forget who was on. It might have been me, Brendy, and Zach, or me, Brendy, and Malachi. And I had the game on my laptop in front of me, but obviously I was focusing on the screen. And I looked down, and I seen Aaron Jones celebrating, and I was like, oh God. And I was like, I hope this was just a run. And then they showed the replay. The first thing they showed was they went 5 wide. There was nobody in the backfield. I was like, oh no. And then I look at the score, and Bobby takes the win for fantasy this week. But
dude, it was so fun. It was funny too. I was getting confused how I was getting like 2 touchdowns from Jones and Rodgers. I'm like, I didn't think there were passes, but then I looked at the replay. I'm like, oh, I guess they were. Okay, I guess that counts.
Bless you.
Wow, God, fuck Kanzutite, Christ. Yeah, no, that was a fun game to watch, and they kept calling back Jones for touchdowns. I think that happened to him twice in that game, and he still fucking scored 3. It was ridiculous. So I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers.
Fun watching that game.
Aaron Rodgers bounce back this year for sure.
I don't know if you saw my message. You didn't really respond to me, but I'm really starting to see your point with Rodgers.
Oh no, I
mean, so I was talking again to before the show. I was telling him that John, who has been on the show, I think twice, is my roommate. He's a Baltimore everything except for hockey because they don't have a team. But anyway, so he's a Ravens fan, and obviously, so 2 things I get on him about, right? So the first thing. It's all about Lamar Jackson, right? And I'm loving Lamar Jackson right now.
Yeah,
I'm high on him. And so is John. However, every time we're watching a Ravens game here, because we both go to school around Baltimore, so the Ravens game is always on. So every time he runs the ball, he starts like biting his nails, like, and I don't mean that like literally, like figuratively. Like he's like, stop. I'm like, why? Dude, the fucking dude can run.
Well, I think it's one of those things like a Robert Griffin thing, whereas you don't want to see this guy get injured, but that's his biggest asset.
But that's the thing. It's like this 2-way quarterback is fun and extremely useful. Like that's that's powering that offense. So the second thing,
like you can't like hold him. Like that's his game.
Yeah, I don't know why. I still can't understand why he's against that. I mean, yes, he can get hurt. I understand that. I'm not that stupid, but he'll be fine. And then the second thing was I made a comment today. I was talking about how the Pats and the Ravens meet this Sunday night. So obviously we're chirping at each other. And we were just kind of talking on football in general. And he said, I made a comment about Rodgers. I'm like, dude, He's like the best scrambler in the league. He's like, hello, Lamar Jackson. The same guy who's biting his nails every time he runs. I'm like, I clarified. I'm like, no, I'm not talking about him being able to run the ball. I'm talking about him being able to get out of the pocket and still be able to create space and throw a dime. And
Aaron Rodgers.
It's like a 50-yard dime. It's ridiculous.
That's the one thing I remember with Aaron. Like, I'll always remember with Aaron Rodgers. Like, after he retires, is this guy can run out of the pocket, throw off his back foot across his body, and throw an absolute dot 50 yards downfield. Like,
it's ridiculous.
Insane.
It's ridiculous.
And I always thought he was just so dynamic.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, the Packers finally figured out their fucking defense, and look where they are.
Who knows? You need a good defense to do that. So they're fun to watch right now. Yeah. And Aaron Jones is the man too.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, I wanted to just touch on a few teams to finish out the segment. But I mean, overall, again, as always, some good races. I'm excited to see the AFC South, which I did not think I'd be saying at the beginning of the season. Like, that's a really good division right now, and like, I know this sounds dumb, but I'm literally saying this truthfully. Like, I'm actually excited to see who finishes with the worst record. Like, because between the Dolphins and the Bengals right now, like, they are trying really hard to get to it.
And you cannot forget about
Tank Bowl.
Well, the Falcons as well, yes. But
yes, Falcons are in contention.
But if you remember in the preview show, I said week 16, the Bengals play the Dolphins, and that literally could decide. Like, that's gonna be a huge game, and I'm not messing around.
Like,
that game's gonna end. That game's gonna end in a tie.
It's gonna be the sloppiest game we'll ever see. So,
but like, that might be a matchup where the two teams are legitimately both trying to lose.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out how, as a coach, you do that. I'm really trying to figure that one out. Yeah. Like, how do you? And also, here's another thing. What would the fans want you to do? So let's say
probably lose.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so let's say you're a Miami fan, right? And let's say for whatever reason you're attending this game.
I was about to say it might be their best attended game of the season.
Yeah. Well, like I'm saying, like, if you're a fan and their season's over anyway, both of them. Like, I mean, forget it. But like, let's look at Miami, right? So Miami is, 0-7. Yeah, 0-7. And let's say they're 0-15 going into or whatever. They haven't won a single fucking game coming up to this next game. And neither has Cincinnati. Literally whoever loses this game gets Tua. Right?
Yeah.
What do you as a Dolphins fan want? Do you want to see your team actually win a game and not finish the season unvictorious? Or do you want to literally tank for Tua?
Well, so if the Dolphins lose to the Bengals, they'll probably lose out the season because the last game is against the Patriots. So
oh my fucking rip!
So I'm actually
they're gonna be playing against the Pats' third string at that point.
So yeah. I'm looking at the schedules like for both the teams, and between the two, I actually think that the Bengals are probably the more likely team to go 0-16. Because they have such a the Bengals have been winning or they've been losing they've been losing games that you would expect them to win even with Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
But like so I just want to read off the rest of the Bengals. So you played the Ravens at home and then at Oakland, which that's probably the most winnable. And then it's Steelers, Jets, Browns, Patriots, and then the Dolphins, of course, and then the Browns again. So I personally think, and I'm going back and forth between the Dolphins. It's like the Dolphins' hardest team that they would play would be the Patriots, and then the next would be the Eagles, and then every other team they could probably beat. So I'm starting to favor the Bengals in this tank for Tua thing.
Bungles.
Yeah, but that does beg the question though. Like, are the Falcons like in contention for this?
So so out of the teams, it would be Cincinnati, Miami, Washington, and you. That's right, your contention. And Denver,
me personally,
would round out the 5.
Yeah.
I'm taking for Tua.
Yeah, I mean, so here's something we don't talk about though. What's best for Tua here? because not even from a lol you're a Bengal or lol you're a Dolphin, right? So the question is, does Cincinnati let go of Dalton if they get Tua? Now, if you're a logical person, you say yes because Andy Dalton fucking sucks. But they're so loyal to him that they don't want to let him go. I think I said this when we did our preview show, was that, I mean, they should have let him go like 2 years ago. I mean, he's not good anymore. I mean, I know, Green's been hurt and whatever, but come on. He's not there anymore, man. He's just not, right? So let's assume that Cincinnati tanks, they get Tua, but they don't let go of Dalton. So that means Tua is probably second fiddle. Like,
well, I don't know. I mean, they might do it for a year. I don't know.
It'd be weird. But if he gets drafted by the Dolphins, I'm almost 90% certain that he's starting week 1. Like, because I mean, really, who else are they going to play?
So what about the Redskins?
That's a good question.
The Redskins have Haskins though. Like, that's their guy.
Okay.
But here's the thing. You actually bring up a good point about like what's best for Tua, because the thing with the Dolphins is like you draft Tua, there are still, and I'm not saying the Bengals don't have this, but there's still so many holes around that it's going to be tough to. You're putting him in a position to not succeed, right? To fail.
Yeah.
That's the thing. No, and like I said, the Bengals the same thing, but the Bengals have pieces. They have
at least the Bengals have AJ Green,
right? And he's a beast, dude.
Yeah, the Bengals have Joe Mixon. They have AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. They got guys.
And somehow winless, by the way.
Yeah, I
like and
by like a lot.
And you look at the Dolphins, like you'd have him throwing to like Devontae Parker, Preston Williams. Like that's like literally all
like practice squad people.
Yeah. So, and I'll be honest, this might be something we have to go back to for like an NFL draft preview or something. But
yeah, absolutely.
I'll be honest, like I see.
Are you about to say what I think you're about to say?
I'm about to say what I think I'm about to say. I could see Tua kind of being like a Marcus Mariota type of guy, who he obviously has a lot of hype, and he will have some brilliance, and will be a guy that can do well. But he's already having injury problems in college right now, and a lot of what Mariota's been dealing with the NFL is injuries, which has been his problem. Yeah. Like that's what I could see. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've been talking to Tyler a lot about this. This is what I thought you were going to say, Tyler. I've kind of been thinking, like, as the NFL season has been going on and the college football season, and this kind of came back up to me when Tennessee played Alabama, and Tennessee actually played really well, but I'm not 100% sold on Tua. I'm really not.
I'm not either.
Like, let me put it this way.
It's got a nice nifty hashtag, doesn't it? Like, ring to it.
So Tua probably is like maybe probably the best quarterback in the class, or maybe one or two. The only way I'm drafting him is if I need a quarterback. So there's some teams that are bad but don't need a quarterback, like the Redskins.
Right.
But then again, there's also the Bengals and Dolphins. So I'm not sure if he's worth the number 1 overall pick, is what I'm trying to say. I think he's probably a mid for realistically, in a perfect world, I would have him in the mid first round.
All right, I'm giving this to you. I'm not disagreeing, but you're definitely in the minority.
I know I am.
I like I said though, I'm not really sold on Tua either, and that's why I'm kind of comparing him to Mariota, because this is a guy with a lot of promise, and I feel like Mariota, I don't know how old he is now, but he's definitely not, he's getting into his prime, and I still feel like people think there's promise there, but he's just had so many injuries. But the thing about this draft class is Justin Herbert would be probably the second ranked quarterback coming out of his class.
I was gonna say Eason.
How about what do you think about Jake Fromm?
No, not. I'm not sold on Jake Fromm. I think Jake Fromm is way too many. It's like maybe like late second round, early third round. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I seen something on Twitter, and I don't know who it was from, but it was like a really good analogy. I think like they could see Jake Fromm struggling at the next level, like in the NFL, but they compare him to like a Kellen Moore, where he would struggle in the NFL, but would be a really good offensive coordinator because he's so smart. It's just like
Yeah.
Kellen Moore didn't work out but he's like a smart guy, and now the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And I thought that was a really good comparison. And I don't,
Yeah.
you don't want to take it away from a guy who hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet, but it just I kind of get that sense as well.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And another thing is like I'm kind of briefly going through like the top quarterbacks in the class. It's like this is kind of a weak quarterback class in
Yeah,
general.
it is.
Like you have you have Tua, and then you have Jake Fromm, and then other than that, it's like the third might be like you said. Sorry, I said the top two would be Tua and Eason is what I'm trying to say, and then number three, and after that, it's kind of debatable. Like maybe East or maybe from maybe Montez from Colorado. I don't know. Like it's not a good class, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
So if I'm an NFL team that needs a quarterback, do I wait another year possibly? Because like though that's going to be a good quarterback class. You got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because in this day and age, I mean, you need to succeed. Like it's all about winning now, and that is a good point. I mean, next year will be another good class, and do you sacrifice another year and a lot of
Like
money?
because yeah, and like this is actually a really good
future discussion
class. This is a really good class for offensive and defensive lines. You have I'm sure you guys know Chase Young out of Ohio State.
Yeah, absolute monster.
That man's a beast. Andrew Thomas out of Georgia.
Yeah.
And a lot of good pieces. So it's like, do you just like build your team like with these with these linemen this year, and then like next year go for a quarterback?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Again, it is something tough because there is a lot of value, offensive, defensive line in this class, and obviously, like you always have your defensive guys be high picks and stuff like that too. I just look at this draft class, and you're right. I mean, QB wise, it's like Tua. I think it's Tua and then kind of everybody else. I feel like people are looking at it.
I would say Justin Herbert would probably be the second.
Yeah, Justin Herbert I think would be the second. Although, I mean, I don't watch a lot of Oregon just because I don't watch a lot of Pac-12, so it's tough for me to definitely give a big look at everything with him. I mean, he's definitely good, and it was the guy that the Broncos were actually looking to get last year, but I don't know. But it is interesting. Like, if the Dolphins are to get the first pick, I think you have to go Tua.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I mean, maybe the Bengals as well, because looking from the outside, maybe the Bengals think, Andy Dalton's still maybe the guy, and you get a few more pieces, and you can do something. I don't think so, but maybe they think that.
Stupid if you do that. You're stupid.
But
he's not
but a
it,
team
man.
but a team like the Falcons, Redskins, the Broncos have Drew Lock, who hopefully he'll get a chance. Like, I don't think it's your number one priority to draft.
So okay, and I just want to ask one more question.
Yeah.
So between the Dolphins, Bengals, Redskins, and Falcons, I think the answer is kind of obvious. But between those four, what team would you say would be more like or the most likely to trade the number one pick for other picks?
Oh.
Or like another player.
I don't think any of them can afford to do that.
Well,
it would be you. Probably.
Like I was yeah, me personally. I would
okay,
I would probably say either the Redskins or the Falcons.
Let me ask you. So You're sort of an impression that Matt Ryan's still your guy for quite a while, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
For the next 5 years, yeah.
Okay. So does most of Atlanta feel that way?
Most of Atlanta. If you were to ask us last season, the answer would be no. But this season, like Matt Ryan has actually been playing really well. So like, honestly, this city is more of like when he plays well, like everyone loves him, and when he sucks, everyone wants him gone. But personally, I would say most of the city is still on the Matt Ryan train.
So you're saying that if Falcons get the number 1 pick somehow and then trade it, you don't think Atlanta will burn to the ground over this?
It depends on the return. So like I remember. Yeah. So I remember it was a couple years ago. The Titans got the number 1 pick, and like they didn't really need it, so they traded it to I think it was the Rams, who the Rams drafted Goff, of course. And the Titans got a lot of picks in return. So I think if the Falcons were to trade the number 1 pick and were to get like a pretty big, haul in picks, then I would be fairly satisfied, and I think most of Atlanta would be too.
Okay. I mean, then it would definitely be you guys. I don't think the Redskins gain anything out of doing that.
Well, here's the thing. If you're the Falcons and you had the first pick, you trade it to a team that's looking for Tua. Like you trade them to the Falcons,
right.
the Dolphins or the Bengals. Like, and I think like a guy like, I mean, I know you would agree with this. Like Chase Young, like if he's there for the Falcons, you take him.
But does that hurt it though? Right. So let's say Falcons get number 1 pick. Miami wants it, right? Miami basically offers everything but the kitchen sink to you guys. I mean, like, unprotected
like all
picks,
the draft picks in the class.
Well, unprotected picks, everything like that. That kind of stuff. Since Miami has, even not even mentioning the quarterback position, a lot of rebuilding to do to get that team to even contend in the AFC East. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Well, that's the thing.
From the Dolphins' perspective?
Yes, because I mean, obviously it's a steal for Atlanta, right? Because if the Dolphins are willing to cough up that much for that first overall pick when you don't need it, right? It's great for Atlanta. I mean, that's not even a question. I'm sure nobody would fault Atlanta for making that deal. What I do question, though, is because I know Atlanta is going to set that price high, especially with a headliner as Tua at the front of the draft class. So let's say the Dolphins give away a ton of picks, right? So Dolphins get Tua, and that's fine, and maybe he does great, but then everything else is going to fall because of that type of trade, right? So is it even worth it at that point? I mean, this is typical trade, one-on-one talk here, right? How much, what's the worth of it and everything like that. But I got to wonder for a team like the Dolphins that need a lot more than a quarterback to be good again, if getting rid of all those picks is worth it for the first rounder. That's my question.
They have a lot more than a quarterback than they need.
Yeah, so my thing about the Dolphins is like, I don't think the Dolphins would make that trade. I really don't. So I think the team more likely to make the trade would be the Bengals or the Redskins. And actually not even the Redskins, just the Bengals. Because the Bengals are like, the Bengals will need a quarterback, but like, if they, they trade up, they take Tua, then most of the holes that they could solve, they could probably get like in later rounds, or they could wait until next year, depending on how many picks they traded away to the Falcons. I think a lot of their problems have come from their passing defense. But because I think we can all agree, like other than Andy Dalton, like the Bengals actually kind of have a solid offense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, their receiver core is there.
I say solid. I mean, like it's a good offense minus Dalton.
Right. Yes. I can agree with that.
Okay. So, if you fill in, a couple, third, fourth rounders, try to plug up some of those holes on defense, Bengals might be, a 6-7 win team next season. We'll see.
Are there any contracts up next year?
What's that?
Off the bat, any contracts out for the Bengals?
I don't know. I mean, it is still interesting. Like AJ Green is a guy that they were it sounded like they were shopping at least.
So I wonder if they're ready to dump. I wonder.
Because like I think Joe Mixon, I mean he's struggling this year, but like that's a guy, like again, comparing the Dolphins to the Bengals and what you're talking about, like what to it is like the Dolphins just traded away Kenyon Drake, and I forget who I don't even know who their
they're
second
full
running back
dump
is.
mode, dude.
I'm looking at the Bengals, like all the Bengals contracts. There's not really any important ones that are expiring. Like the closest one, like that's major, would be Joe Mixon, but that's not for another 3 years.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah. So then there's okay. So the Bengals are definitely making that trade if Atlanta or the Skins get that pick and make a deal. But I still believe that if you got the pick or Skins got a pick, they are asking for a fuck ton for that pick. Jesus Christ.
Because like, and like even if the Falcons don't trade the pick, which I would be shocked if they didn't. I mean, look, you draft, Chase Young or Andrew Thomas #1, and that's that.
Yep.
So that's satisfying.
And everyone
no matter
gets
what
pissed for Tua at that point. Pissed for
exactly.
Tua. There's the new hashtag.
Falcons aren't drafting Tua.
Oh no, I wouldn't expect that.
Unless of course Matt Ryan suddenly decides to retire, which he's not going to.
I don't know. I mean, who would have thought Luck would have done his thing, man? You never know.
I was kind of joking with Brendy, like with the Broncos, like, hey, tank for Tua, but like obviously I want to see what Drew Lock has, and they have holes that they could fill as well. But I think, it's gonna all come to circumstance. It is. If it's the Dolphins, obviously they definitely take them.
And Tyler, how frustrated were you watching the draft last year when the Broncos were like toying with drafting Drew Lock?
We were on call for that when that happened, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, weren't we on the? I feel like we were doing the podcast.
Yeah, it was. Well,
we were just about to start it or something.
Yeah, well, I think it was. I was recording already, and that was happening, so I added it in there.
Right. Oh, that's what it was.
What episode was that? God damn it.
Yeah,
I remember
exactly, that. Yep. that was good time. And now Joe Flacco's out for the year. So once Drew Lock's on injury reserve right now. But he should get his time. But yeah, we do have to move on. We took a lot longer than we wanted to, but that is okay because that was a good discussion.
We definitely got to talk about Tua in the draft class soon because there's a lot. There's actually a lot more questions than I originally thought.
I think when the college football season is done and we do start getting closer to the draft, we can kind of talk because it is interesting. And Brendy again does bring up a good point. Like the draft class, the quarterback draft class, outside of like the top 2 is mediocre. So do you wait next year? But for right now, let's move on to In Case You Missed It. Okay.
All right. All right, boys. So
sorry about that. I hesitated on that for some stupid reason.
So we have all been to an airport more than once, correct?
Yes, I think.
Well, I guess if you've been on a plane, you would have to go to an airport at least twice. But
I mean, I just sneak onto the runway and hope for the best. I mean, that's what I personally try and do. I mean, Tyler just wants to keep cursing at Philly, so.
You're just like Woody from Toy Story 2. Just the last scene. But anyway, so have you guys ever and nothing illegal like a knife or anything or a gun, but like have you guys ever accidentally managed to get something past TSA that probably wouldn't for most of the people?
Actually,
really?
What would this be?
I accidentally my mom got pissed at me for this, but I was young and didn't realize. I brought we were going to Florida for a week, so obviously I was bringing your usual stuff like toothpaste, toothbrush, all those kind of things, and I put cologne in my. I didn't put it in my bag to go on the under the plane. I put it in my carry-on, and
wow, how did you do that?
But it was in a book bag in another bag. For because I was trying to keep it just in case it leaked out or something.
Just in case you meet a nice babe while you're out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I somehow got the throw, and like I was going, like after we got to the, after we got settled and got to where we were, I like pulled everything out. I mean, and she's seen it like come out of my carry-on. She's like, "Was that on the plane with you?" I was like, yeah." She's like, What the hell? Like, this and that." I'm like, "I did not know. I am sorry."
Yeah. I'll say I never snuck anything, and I haven't flown that often. I've been on a plane 4 or 5 times. But I will say that every single time I've been to the airport, I am always pulled aside. Every time. So
Yeah.
pants down. Fuck it, it's terrible. It's so annoying.
Have you ever gotten a full cavity search?
Never a cavity. Never, unfortunately.
Okay.
No, they pulled me aside, and it's like I forget, isn't it like shirt off at least or something like that? You have to take my belt off. So I'm basically like stripping down, and I have to stand in this huge tube and put my hands up, and it's dumb. I don't know why me, but whatever. Randomly selected.
So they never made me like remove any clothing, thankfully. But like, there's been times where like
I can't remember what the process was.
This was like back in the time where like pat downs were still okay, and not like the full, like hands like being massaged kind of shit that they do for searching now. But basically the process here is you go through TSA. If it goes off, then like they check you really quick, see if like there's like a belt or like a something on you that you just forgot.
Yeah.
And if you go through, it beeps off again. Then they'll do like the little the SWAT down, as I like to call it. And then if they find something, they'll walk you through again. And if it goes off again, that's when you get the full cavity search. So you basically get like 4 strikes.
I have to mention this podcast is going to be 3 hours long, but why is it like you if you have a laptop, you have to like only put the laptop in like one of those trays, and like then nothing else can be in there? Like, I don't understand.
I'm gonna take a wild guess. I think besides that it could be a bomb, because of all the electronic parts that someone can easily make into a bomb. On top of that, I saw. Do not ask me how I found this video, but there was a video of a guy some kid. He like did a modification to his disk tray on his laptop so that he could hide weed in it. And so, and now disk trays really don't exist on laptops anymore.
This is part of the story, so I'm glad you brought that up. But continue.
Oh, sweet. But yeah, so I guess what I would say is like when laptops were fucking massive, now they're thin, and they typically don't have disk trays on their laptops anymore, because I just bought one and it definitely doesn't have one. I guess that was part of it too, was just because people could hide stuff in there, like even like a small knife or something like that. So who knows?
Well, I bring that up because the last time I went to Georgia, coming back home, I got a tray, took the laptop out of the tray, put the laptop case in the tray, and then put the laptop on top, like with with my charger and stuff like that. And they were like, "Nope." I had to pull it aside. I was like, I had to wait for 20 minutes for it to go to like through some machine, this and that, and it was literally just because I had other stuff in there with my laptop.
Okay.
I
haven't had that happen. I don't think I've brought my laptop on a plane, so.
Yeah. I don't. Sorry. Yeah, I was about to say I haven't either. But so this is gonna sound like another weird question, but have you guys ever taken? This is gonna sound weird. Have you guys ever taken a field trip or like some sort of tour to a prison?
No.
To a prison?
Yeah, or like, have you ever like just toured one for fun?
I did. I mean, where I live, I'm close to the Eastern State Penitentiary, and they do a Halloween thing where they fill the prisons with actors and stuff, and they do like a haunted trail type thing. So I've toured a prison, but not for actually touring a prison. But I've seen the prison because of that.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
So as I'm sure you guys are aware, and this is kind of one of the reasons I brought up TSA as well. People, like to smuggle things, right?
Naturally.
And you're always going to try to find a way to get around the system. So So there's this this man in the United Kingdom. So he's been a bad boy. He's gonna go to prison. But while he's in prison, he's gonna want to light up a joint, smoke some weed. But it's not gonna be allowed while you're in prison. So what does he do? Where do you think he hit a joint?
Yeah, I'm
up his
sure.
ass.
Yep.
Not up his ass.
No, wait.
It's not up his ass.
What?
If you say what
I
think
swear to
that's
God,
No,
Brendy.
it's not what you think it is.
All right, cool. All right, we're cool. We're square.
He had. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Go
He
ahead.
he attempted to smuggle cannabis into prison by hiding it in a balloon up his nose.
Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why?
And
Why?
here's the thing. This happened.
What the fuck?
Here's the thing. This happened 18 years ago. Apparently, he forgot about it while he was in prison. He thought that apparently, he said he forgot how he smuggled it. Basically, he's like I couldn't remember if I hit it in my mouth or somewhere else. But apparently, so after he got out of prison, he was having a lot of sinus problems, and he wasn't sure why.
Oh my God.
And according to this article, this is from Sky. Over the next 2 decades, the balloon developed into I don't know how to pronounce this, a rhinolith. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but wait, it says right here. It's a stone in the nasal cavity formed as calcium and magnesium salts build up around the rubber. So this caused him to get regular sinus infection, but it wasn't really that big of a deal until it developed into painful headaches when he finally sought treatment 18 years later. And that's when doctors discovered the balloon filled with marijuana.
I just don't know how you forget.
What the fuck are you doing?
So his doctors performed a CT scan, discovered it, and it was surgically removed. 3 months after the surgery, the patient reported that all of his symptoms had disappeared.
Oh, can you ever blow your nose and you get everything and it just feels amazing?
Yeah,
that's got to be that times 100. It's actually, you know what, Brendy, and I'm not gonna one up your story here, but I read a similar story on Reddit the other day. But this was a kid who did this. He apparently, when he was little, liked to put rocks in his ear, and he left. So he apparently left one in there for a few years. He said he forgot the kind of similar scenario to the guy you're talking about, but he left it in his ear, and then he said he could hear something happening in his ear, and he remembered the rock, but then just didn't do anything about it. And finally, he went to doctors, and they kept saying, "Oh, you have blockage, but we can't find anything." So at some point, he finally just has enough, and he goes in and grabs it himself. Mm-hmm. And he says it was like a pop coming out, it was. Oh yeah.
When I was really young, I swallowed about 17 cents in dimes, nickels, and pennies. so you can figure that out how mathematically I did that. But I had to go to the hospital for that.
Nice.
You cut off after 17 cents, and then you said hospital.
Did they have to flush you at all?
That. I was 3 or 4. I don't remember it.
I feel like I remember that story. I feel like you remember telling me that. That's what the fuck, Brendy.
Yeah.
How the fuck? Okay, I gotta applaud this guy. He must be really good at packing boxes. If he's able to pack a fucking balloon full of weed into his fucking nose. I'm not a smoker, so I don't know everything about this kind of culture. But fucking Christ, how the fuck do you do that?
Dude, I have a tiny ass refrigerator and freezer. I need this man to for me.
How the fuck do you forget about that? Explain that to me. You don't feel that shit? Are you kidding me?
It was extremely high when he did it. I don't know.
I am fucking triggered, dude. What the fuck? How the fuck do you... Never mind. Fucking, I'm done.
Well, so I'm curious what exactly is what exactly was the size of the balloon and how much weed was in there? Because I can kind of understand depending on how far the balloon is up your nose and how small the balloon is. Like, I could kind of understand forgetting about it, but like that, I feel like if you were to do that, that's not really something you would forget.
Well, but this is where I'm confused. So let's say he's the smallest
for 18 years.
Well, the smallest balloon I can think of right off the bat. I'm not a balloon connoisseur, but like the smallest thing I'll go with a lot of time is a balloon that you would use for like water balloons. Like they're pretty fucking small, right? But when you blow their shits up, like they can get pretty decently sized. I'm not saying it blew up in his nose. That would be preposterous, but like that balloon is not that small that you would not feel that. I mean, I know what it feels like to breathe out of my nose.
Also, like, I'm curious if like he went to prison and was like, man, this person is like rubber and weed.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say you don't smell that weed in there, especially when it's probably, you know, I don't know. I gotta imagine weed like rots or gets bad somehow at some point in time, right? Right?
Or you might just go nose blind to it, literally.
I just, oh my God, I have so many question marks. Okay. Fucking Christ. All right.
No, thankfully, I found 2 really good websites where I could find like these weird news stories. So I am very happy to bring this to you guys. So yeah, it's Sky News and the Huffington Post. So congratulations.
Sky News is something else, and Huffington Post is bleh. Anyway.
So I just want to mention this last story briefly. Since I mentioned the TSA earlier, I've got another TSA story for you guys.
Airplane stories.
And this actually happened at the Newark Airport in New Jersey.
Jersey represent. No, fuck Newark. It's in North Jersey.
So, like, you know, sometimes, like, I'll accidentally, or not sometimes, like, this only happened, like, maybe once or twice, where, like, I had, like the spray cologne, like Tyler had mentioned, but TSA's usually found it right away. It's like, yeah, you can't bring this on board. I was like, oh, okay, forgot about that. So like stuff like that, it's like, oh, you know, that sucks. You gotta take it off. But there's some stuff that's like so obviously like not gonna get past TSA that you question what the hell the person was thinking. So let me put it this way, and I'm gonna try to pull up a picture for you guys. I might just have to take a screenshot and send it.
Send it.
This man tried to smuggle some toilet paper on board. Except the toilet paper, it was basically like a toilet paper roll. But see if you can.
No, I'm so scared.
See if you can find what's wrong exactly with it.
Wait! No, you're joking.
Yep.
What is this?
So I'm just gonna describe it to describe it to the viewers.
Yeah, please describe it. I'm showing a picture on the stream of this fucking thing, but please describe it for audio listeners.
So it's basically a toilet paper roll, merged into an old revolver.
I mean, the revolver looks nice, not for nothing. That grip is something special right there.
Yeah, so like the revolver, the chamber or whatever has been removed and replaced with the toilet paper roll. So obviously, travelers are not permitted to bring real or replica firearms through security checkpoints. TSA says it gave the man the option to place it in a checked bag, hand it off to a companion, or surrender it. He decided to give it to the TSA after all.
Who is traveling and just goes, I can't leave without my toilet paper gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying here. Like, okay, question. When you guys travel, are you bringing, I mean, okay, I can understand if you bring toilet paper, right? I mean, why not? Especially if you're going somewhere that you like have never been to
right
before,
like
right?
those hotels have like that cheap ass toilet paper.
Oh
like,
yeah, that's fine, but what the fuck do you need the holder for? Like, those shits are universal, so what the fuck are you bringing this for? And then on top of that, was this on a carry-on? Is that what you said?
It doesn't say if it was a carry-on. Okay, I'm just double checking. It's It was a carry-on item.
Why?
Maybe he wanted, to have his role during the during the long flight.
Okay.
I
have a couple questions. Can I ask them real quick?
I kind of wish it would say where he was planning on flying to.
How about can we ask this question first? Where the fuck is this attaching? How do you use this? You can't sit it on the handle.
Yeah.
It looks like you'd have to like bolt it to a wall or something.
So why do you have this on the plane? What the fuck are you people doing? What are you doing?
I mean, to be like, it is kind of cool. Like if it was in your house and bolted to a wall.
It looks great, but you literally can't. So now my question is, you bring this. That's one thing. If you have a thing where you don't like toilet paper holders in hotel rooms, you need your own toilet paper holder. Okay, whatever. Let people do what they want. But this seems so fucking useless. I can't see where this attaches to or how it's supposed to be functional. If it's bolted to a wall, you're not putting a hole in a hotel wall. That's money. But what the fuck?
So one option I was something I was thinking of is like that gun is like literally like just the holder for the toilet paper roll and like nothing else. So like maybe it's just like how he likes to hold his toilet paper rolls.
Can you imagine if he's like traveling with his wife or something, like, and he's in the hotel and he's in the bathroom, she's just kind of sitting on the bed or something, or getting ready, and he's like, "Hey babe, can you grab my gun? Fresh out of ammo in here, if you know what I mean."
Or just imagine like you're like the maid in the hotel room, stuff out of the bag, like you're the maid, walks in, and, like the guy pulls out a fucking gun, and he's like, "Oh my fucking god!" He's like, "What? It's just my toilet paper."
I can't. You know what? This actually might be the ultimate power move if you go to rob somebody, because it's like you point this gun at the cashier, and you're like, "All right, listen up. Give me all the money, and I have a toilet paper roll right here for when you shit your pants, because obviously you're scared to death." So like, I can't tell if this is you fucking broke me with these two stories. I hope you fucking know. I'm just so.
I'm very glad to hear that.
You know what? I'm a filmmaker. I'm making a documentary on the guy who fucking handed this over. I need to go find him. You need to tell me how you live your daily life, like right now.
It would be interesting to know like where he was going or where he, how long the flight was. Was it like an 8-hour flight? And he was like, I know I'm gonna have to shit, so I gotta bring my toilet paper. Like, I don't know.
No, not even as toilet paper. It's literally just the fucking roll.
Yeah, like
and the gun.
I mean, I'm confused.
Like,
I wonder.
Maybe they took the toilet paper off, but yeah. I doubt it.
You think the TSA like you're like, yeah, you can have the toilet paper back, but the gun stays with us. And do you think they like fought over that later? Like, oh, so it looks so good in my apartment.
I can only imagine like TSA just like laughing as they're taking.
Dude,
like, are you serious?
I gotta wonder, like, for stuff like this, especially this, right? You have to be losing your fucking mind, like when you're looking at this thing. I also gotta figure, or maybe they become desensitized to it because it definitely happens a lot more than I think. You finding sex toys or something like that they have to take off for whatever reason, like it's made of metal or something like that. Like, what do you do when TSA takes your butt plug or something like that?
Yeah, like you're a TSA agent. It's like pull it out of the bag and like you're like, yeah, I know what this is, but in my head, like I know what this is. It was like, ma'am, what is this?
I'm TSA, and I know I'm wearing gloves anyway, but I don't want to fucking touch this.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's probably. I mean, look how many airports, how many people are traveling a day? Like, dude, this probably happened like several times a day.
Yeah,
probably the highlight of the day.
Also, real quick, shout out to our TSA lovely workers there. They deal with a lot of shit, not for nothing. I know. They do, but I listen. I know they can be dicks sometimes. I know, but they do go through a lot in a day.
Tyler, did you not like pass through Atlanta TSA? Like, what the fuck, dude? It's 10 times worse for us.
Well, I'll be honest. I got lucky both times, but there's been times like you just, depending on when your flight is, you're just in that line for what feels like 3 hours.
Florida sucked, Tyler. When we went to Florida.
Yeah.
So I will say Atlanta has gotten a lot better, but I think it's because like I've changed my flight scheduling to like so I only fly like early in the morning or super late at night now. Like I no longer fly during like 3 p.m.
You see, I drive doing that now. It'd be like open
For
highways.
what do you mean?
So I do a lot of driving in sort of long distances, right? So and I always have to hit 95 usually going from place to place. Like I have to get home using 95. I have to go to my girlfriend's using 95. Right. So, and that's a fucking busy interstate at any point during the day when people are awake. However, if I'm up early in the really early in the morning, like way before like rush hour or stuff like that, or really late at night, like 11 or 12 o'clock, there's nobody. So I am just cruising, and I've been doing that a lot more lately. It's been very,
I think that's a good way to travel. The only like I guess concern for me would be like deer hopping out middle of the road.
Hey, viewers, don't take my idea. It's my fucking road. Fuck off. Come on, I'll drive at that time, for God's sake.
Yeah, no, that was a funny story. That's crazy.
Fucking Christ, I'm dead.
It is one of those questions. Like, did you really think this was getting through?
But like, I just forget the getting through, because I gotta believe that this person wasn't even thinking about that. They just casually put it in there. I just want to know how they got to that point in their thinking. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yep, can't forget my gun toilet paper holder.
And since we are running low on time, I do have one more story, but I'm just going to share it very briefly, and we're not even going to really talk about it.
Okay.
Modern Warfare came out, and it's had its problems, but there's actually going to be a big overhaul, and this is just a rumor, but according to Charlie Intel, so I think it's reliable.
We like Charlie Intel here.
So number one, the mini map is going to be returning to normal. So like you'll be able to like actually see gunshots on the mini map.
Okay.
And also a lot of the DLC maps have been leaked for the first batch of DLC maps.
This I heard. I heard this one.
It's going to be a mix of COD 4 and NW2 maps, and then some new ones as well. Some new Ground Wars, some new 10v10. So yeah,
I'm hearing Rust and Terminal.
Looks like Modern Warfare is due for a pretty big overhaul coming sometime in this month.
This is when I announced that when Rust gets released for MW, CPN will be live streaming a quickscope no scope tournament, 1600 Microsoft points,
and trick shot last kill.
Yeah, trick shot last kill. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's something that we still like. Me and you were going back to like only a few months ago. We would go back and play Rust trick shots. Yeah. But that's another thing I do want to say about the podcast. So episode 40 is our trivia night. Episode 41, we will have a lot of guests on. We'll be talking about the COD release and our thoughts. We want to give it some time to marinate and for us to play. But you know what? Episode 41.
What's a little preview? How, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the least satisfied and 5 being the most satisfied, where are we ranging at? Just a little preview.
If you had asked me like a day or two after it came out, I would have said like maybe 1.5. But now I would say probably 4.
Okay.
I would say like 3 for me.
I'm gonna say like 4 as well. I think maybe 3.5. I'm gonna say 4. I'm happy with this game, but yes.
Do we all agree that like after we played a few days, it got better?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
needed to get accustomed.
I didn't see a lot of the troubles that happened right at the bat because I pre-ordered, but I didn't get to play till the Monday after just because I was busy. But once I did play, I mean, I've had fun with it. I mean, there's glaring problems. I mean, the claymores. Oh my god! But yeah, there's glaring problems, and I see them now. But I still have fun with the game. I'm getting used to the feel of the game. And once I got used to that, everything else is just kind of falling into place. Also, we were playing with Malachi yesterday, and we'll move on right after this, I promise. We were playing with me and Tyler were playing with Malachi yesterday, and he plays on PC, and me and Tyler playing on Xbox, and I think Brendy does too. Watching Malachi play COD is like watching a cracked baby. Like, dude, he was like, he's any like situation where he's like by himself, like if it's like 1v3 or whatever, all you hear, and I'm gonna try not to click too many things here, but it's like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
He's like, yeah, dude. There was a point yesterday where it was like we were playing Cyber Attack. It was 1v5, and I had all the faith in him.
So I will say a lot of that, like those keyboard noises. He has genuinely just a terribly loud keyboard because, like, when we're playing Overwatch or any other PC game, it's still loud. So, like, it's just his keyboard at that point.
It's just funny, and then watching him too is even funnier because, like, he's just jerking around, like it's like he's having a schizophrenic episode. It's weird.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
So we're going to move on to our second topic here. Won't have as much time as we thought we would, but it's okay. I do want to talk about this because right now we're entering a time where a lot of sports are kicking off. Like hockey obviously kicked off, but we just had the World Series conclude. Congrats to the Nationals.
Fuck the Nats. Fuck you. Fuck you.
We're also
and for everybody doing the Lowell Harper, fuck you too, by the way.
I mean, it is kind of funny.
No, fuck you. No, fuck you.
And we're also in the midst of the MLS playoffs. And this is a question that's kind of been on my mind for a while, dating back to the, this is going to be, this is tough to say, but when the Pirates were actually making the wild card and they would make that one game wild card game and lose, it would drive me insane. Excuse me, insane. But we're going to talk about playoff format, like a 1-game playoff format versus a 5-game or 7-game series. Brendy, I want to ask for like an MLS standpoint, something new this year. What are your thoughts on like the 1-game playoff in the MLS?
So just some quick background. So ever since MLS has started, it's been kind of how it is in the Champions League, where you play. So like let's say I'm Atlanta United and 1 seed, and then Tyler is the Union and they're the 4 seed. So Atlanta United would obviously have home field advantage, and they would play a 2-leg set. So they would essentially play 2 games. The first game is actually held at Philadelphia. The first game is played at the lower seeds arena because that's considered home field advantage, because after the first game, then you know like what you need to score during the second game. So like if the Union are hosting United and the Union win the game 1-0, then Atlanta knows in the second game, okay, we have to score at least 1 goal, and we're playing at home, so it's not too bad. So that's how it originally was in MLS up until this year, where it became basically just like college basketball or the NFL, where it's 1 game and you're out. So originally, when Atlanta United had their inaugural season, they kind of got a taste of that anyway, because they got into a wild card slot against Columbus and lost. So that's kind of what I experienced at first, and then the year that Atlanta United won the cup, they went, obviously they went all the way through, and then I should mention the MLS Cup itself is also just a 1-game elimination.
Right.
But the playoffs, so I thoroughly enjoyed, watching a 2-leg series. It was something different. I actually really enjoyed it because I knew, no matter how poorly, a team played in the first game or whatever, there was always a chance to bounce back. Luckily, Atlanta United didn't have that problem at all, and they ended up winning the cup. Fast forward to this year, they changed the format. So there's a couple things that I noticed. Atlanta United went to the Eastern Conference Finals and they lost. There's a few things that I noticed. Number one, a lot more offense was showcased in this new format, like in the entire playoffs, than there ever has been. Usually in the old format, it would just be like, okay, the first leg, it would just be 1-0, and then the next game would be, 2-1, at best. Meanwhile, this season, fast forward, you had LAFC versus LA Galaxy in the Western Conference semifinals, and the game ended 5-3. So there was a lot more offense going on throughout the entire playoffs. It wasn't just them. And then it also provides a bigger opportunity, in my opinion, for an upset, which happened twice in both of the conference finals, where Seattle ended up beating LAFC, who were huge favorites to win the whole thing, and then Atlanta, of course, ended up losing to Toronto. So I think from a fan perspective, it's actually really good. I think this was taken with a huge risk too, because I kind of think of ratings as well. I think Major League Soccer was kind of sacrificing, additional, game revenue or something like that in order to kind of create this kind of more intense playoff atmosphere. And I think so far this year, it seems to have worked really well. So I'll have to say, it's impressed me so far. I'd like to see how it'll continue. But those are my initial thoughts in the one game thing.
Yeah, I agree with you about the whole offense thing. It definitely opened up with the Union when they played the Red Bulls. That game ended 4-3, and as you mentioned, the LAFC game 5-3, and
while the Union were down 3-1, by the way.
Yeah, that's that was a crazy game, and so I like it. So my thing with the whole one game playoff thing across sports is, like I said, the first thing I kind of think about is the baseball, the wild card game, and I don't know how I feel about it, because on one hand, it's like when we're talking about like the MLS, like it really you have to be your best. You have to showcase your best. But on the other hand, it's like, every guy, every team, or every, star player has their off day, and it's like, what if their bad day just comes on, one of these crucial days, and like, really they should have been the team that goes through, but they didn't. Like, and I get that it's a whole, like, it builds up the stakes and stuff like that. I do like what soccer, and I don't really know if any other sport could implement it just because of circumstances, but I do like what European soccer does, in terms of what Brendy talked about, playing over two legs and then seeing who wins over aggregate. But again, I don't know really how any other sport would implement that. Now, if you look at a sport like, basketball, or hockey, whatever, um, those are played over series, and what you get is you get storylines from those series, because there is, a potential to play 4 to 7 games, and you get storylines out of that, and I think that makes that interesting. But on the flip side, out of a one game playoff, again, there's so much on the line, and there's so much at stake, that it kind of usually brings the best out of players, and even if you compare it to, like, say, like the NCAA March Madness, like, that's all one game, and that's so hyped. And I think it's so hyped mainly because it is one game, and anything can happen. It's something that, for a while, I was like, this is bullshit, blah blah blah. And I think I really thought about that, and I was biased because of what happened with the Pirates in the wild card game, and maybe that's something in baseball where I don't think it should happen. I really don't know. Like, I don't have an answer for you.
Right.
But
I just want to add. I just want to add, as a Braves fan, I am completely 100% on your side when you mentioned the one game wild card playoff. Like, that is the dumbest shit in sports, in my opinion.
Well, I will add this. It was also frustrating because the Pirates got into the wild card game 2 straight years, as like they were a wild card team, but they were the second best team in the NL. It just so happened that I forget if it was like the Cardinals or the Cubs.
The first team was, in the
Yeah,
same division.
yeah. So like we lost, and because of the wild card, because of that, and it like pissed me the fuck off. And maybe that's why, but again, then you watch like these MLS games where you're having one games, and obviously the March Madness tournament is always awesome, and
The NFL playoffs.
I was gonna say, yeah, the NFL players for college football, like, it's so hyped. I just don't know. It's tough, and again, like I said, the storylines that get built, like, especially over hockey, there's a lot of, as the series goes on, there's a lot of animosity. And for example, like the Vegas Golden Knights, have this is their third year in the league, and the Sharks have had some bitter rivals, but because of the playoff series that both years that went 7 games, that is one of the biggest rivalries in the NHL right now. It is nasty, and that's because of a 7 game playoff series, and it just builds this animosity. So I don't know, Bobby. I do want to get your thoughts on this because I know, obviously, like being a hockey fan, you're always accustomed to the 7-game series. But what are your thoughts?
This is what I'll say is that I think, and it's gonna sound like I'm putting other sports down by saying this. Soccer is like fucking chess compared to a lot of other sports. So I heard you mention that, like, oh well, the best player on a soccer team can have a bad game. Yes, everybody has a bad game. That's just kind of how sports go. But the thing with soccer is I feel like if you have one guy who goes bad, it's a lot easier for the team to kind of pick them up in soccer compared to others, right? Like hockey is so fucking quick. Anything stupid can happen at any point in time. Like deflections happen, from halfway down the ice that go into the net. Like that kind of stuff can happen all the time and completely change the swing of a game. I feel like in soccer, it happens. It definitely happens, but it's a lot harder for that to happen. So for me, it always made sense that soccer was one and done kind of thing versus hockey that needed 7 games, because it needs to be, in hockey, with the amount of stupid things that can happen, it should be beyond a shadow of a doubt that a team should be able to advance. And I think the series in the NHL does that very well. Winning 4 games, like, Lightning got eliminated. Lightning 62 win season, President's Trophy winning team plays Columbus, who never won a playoff series, and Columbus won 4-0. Like that's convincing. Yeah. If Columbus beats that team in 1 game and advances, no one believes in the Blue Jackets, and they think the Lightning got screwed. So
yeah, I agree.
So that's what I would say. Like, to me, I think it definitely. I think you can't say like, oh, everything should have. I can't imagine soccer being a 7-game series. I think that'd be brutal. To be completely honest with you,
happen.
Like no way,
because of how grueling soccer is.
Yes, it's a very grueling sport.
Well, yeah, it would be like the NFL, like best of 5 series. Like it just wouldn't work,
Yeah.
So the debate in soccer is mainly just, should it be 2 legs and then aggregate, or should it just be one and done? Okay. And right now, it used to be aggregate. This year it is one and done.
Can you define some of those for a casual viewer like me?
Ty, you probably could explain it better.
Oh, I'm sorry. Repeat.
So he's talking about aggregate and then the double legs.
So if you're playing,
consider a leg a game.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're playing in the first leg, again, like I mentioned before, like the Union versus Atlanta United. Say Union win the first game 2-0. Then the second game in Atlanta, for the United to come back, they need to score 2 goals of their own, and that would make it 2-2 over both games. So you're just combining the score over both games, and then the tiebreaker is away goals. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So say it's the first game is 2-0 Union. The second game is 3-1 Atlanta. It's 3-3, but the Union win because they had 1 away goal and the United didn't. So you're basically aggregated, just combining scores over 2 games, and then again there is tiebreakers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it just basically makes it fair because both teams have a home game, and you can kind of, based on what the first game does, you can kind of figure out what the second game, what's going to happen in the second game, which makes it interesting because we're talking about 1-game playoffs and how like it's so intense, and that's what makes it so great. But there is that build up in an aggregate setting or a 2-leg setting rather, where the second game is gonna, what has to be done, so it makes that build up.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's something that European soccer has used for, or soccer in general, but European soccer has used for so long in the Champions League and the Europa League and stuff like that. But again, I just don't know how it would really. It's kind of one of those things where it might only work in soccer, but yeah, like that would be another thing, like in terms of like a format for playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But again, it's all about. I think you kind of have to ride the line of like getting the entertainment value, I guess. Like I feel like a 1 game. I don't know. It's like I'm so on the line about.
So I just want to say really quick. I think part of the reason, I think that this change for like the 1 game playoff for soccer, and I'll get to other sports in a second. But this change, I think, was to appeal to more casual fans.
Yeah.
To kind of grow the sport more in the States. And then I think when it, gets to a point where it's like, okay, people, I think people should be doing this now, but when people like actually start considering MLS, like, one of the, one of the big 4, big 5 sports, in North America, then maybe they'll switch it back to the aggregates, to be more international friendly. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Like it seems like it might be a temporary type of thing.
So, because I guess there's 2 different excitements for me. Like in a 1 game setting, there's all this. It's everything is now. Like you have to do it now, and it's 1 game. But over a series, there is that excitement building because when it does come down to that 7th game again, which becomes a 1 game format essentially, that's when it becomes its best, and that's when everything's on the line. I don't know. It's so tough for me because both are great. I just think like the one big thing for me is like I don't like how it is in baseball. Like I wish the wild card was like best of 3 or something. I think that would be better. And then
like whoever gets 2 wins first.
Yeah, like I feel like that would be better then because not for nothing too. Like with how baseball is now, it's like it's so much dependent on pitching and home runs. So it's like, yeah, I guess just to test the depth of the pitchers and stuff like that. Like a team might have one really good pitcher and throw him out there for 1 game and he does well, but you have that second and third guy that should be better than the other team to get that win. Yeah, so I guess that's my only thing with baseball. I think, hockey and basketball should always stay like that. I think that's a good format. I don't actually, I mean, basketball, like I could see, I guess it wouldn't work because there's not enough teams, but like doing almost a tournament like the NCAA, like just something, because I feel like sometimes the
teams will get screwed out of that.
well,
so
I was gonna say
quickly.
maybe not that, but like maybe like the first round be best of 5 or something, like just to give it more intensity. Because like for all the years of like the Golden State Warriors, like of being like dominant. So say instead of a 7 game series, it's a 5 game series. The other team wins game 1. It makes it more interesting for that rest of that 5 game series.
And it should be noted the NBA used to have a best of 5 in the first round, but changed it like a couple decades ago.
I think that would create, because like if the Golden State's playing, I don't fucking know, whoever, and they win game 1, it's like, okay, well they still have a bunch of games to figure it out. Like in a 5 game series, it's a lot better. I at least for the first round, I think they should do that. I think hockey's fine because hockey, out of all the sports, I think is the most balanced. Like there is
seems like
at any time, excuse me, at any time the wild card can be the 1 seed. Like I think all the teams are very evenly balanced. But again, I mean,
like the Kings have won the cup as like the lowest seed, right?
Yeah. Yep. Excuse me.
Fuck
So,
hey, I got a quick jersey.
Maybe look, maybe I'm taking my frustration out of this segment on baseball because of the Pirates in those years and that 1 playoff. But that is when I thought about that. This is why I added the top to my list, because like that drove me insane. Like I couldn't
know
stand
why the wild card's a game. I know I haven't really chimed in here, but that's the one thing I don't get with baseball, why it's a game. I would even take a best of 3. To be quite honest with you.
But that's what I was gonna say. I think a best of 3 would be best.
Like even better. Like just at that point, or hell, give it another 5 game. Like what I've always liked about hockey is that every single spot is 7 games, every single stage, because and that lets you know that teams are earning their way through. So there's no, beyond a shadow of a doubt that team,
deserves it.
Yeah, didn't get to the cup on a fluke.
Right.
I mean, like even Vegas, an expansion team making it to the cup on their first year. I mean, but say what you want, they proved it. They proved it in a very hard way. They ended up losing it, but I don't think, beyond a shadow of a doubt that everyone should ever doubt that he didn't have a right to be there.
So essentially, it's like you have to look. Do we want the more excitement in the one game, or do we want to really know who's the champion here and earn it in a serious format? Like that's how I kind of look at it.
This brings up another discussion that I've been looking at. So I'm gonna shout out Charlie O'Connor here, who is a writer for the Athletic Philadelphia, and he covers the Flyers. His work's nuts. Like he's a really really good writer. If you ever get to read his stuff, but he was talking about baseball actually, and somebody asked him why he watches baseball because baseball is boring, which I'm sure everybody has heard at least once or twice. As fans of baseball, you probably hear it all the time. Even my girlfriend, who again love her to death, she's not a sports person really, but she's like, look, I'll watch hockey with you or football or whatever, but I will not watch baseball. So I'm like, okay, I'll get what I can get. But so he mentioned that he responded with saying like, he's like, yeah, it is. But for me, the pauses in play create all the tension in the world to keep me glued to the screen. It was essentially what he said.
Right.
And that's
which I can see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as somebody like me who's a filmmaker and a storyteller, I get that. I actually, one of the scripts I'm writing right now for my senior project has a lot of long kind of drawn out pauses to create a spot of tension. And I never really thought about that in a sports way, but it made me think, and I think it kind of relates to what we're talking about a little bit, because attention spans nowadays are very short with people. With social media and instant access to everything on demand and everything, our attention spans are very, 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 very short, right? So for some people, a series is too long because they don't want to watch 7 games to figure out who the winner is. They just want to know who it is, right? In baseball, or the MLS, they can just watch one game and get that fulfillment out of that one game. For someone like me who appreciates each game and can watch each game without boredom, I can safely say the wild card game in baseball pisses me off. Because I just feel like, again, one of those things, it's one of those things where like you can just have an off night and lose, and baseball is definitely one of those sports.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what Brendy was saying with like the casual fans with the MLS. Like I think the one game gravitates for them.
And I would agree.
So, yeah.
And I just watched my first Union game in probably 2 years the other day, and although they lost, it was I found myself picking apart the game as even as someone who hasn't really watched soccer. I know soccer, like I know how to play soccer. I know the mechanics of soccer. I just don't watch it as much. It's not really my priority, right? And I don't not like it. I just don't end up turning it on. It gets conflicted with everything else, to be quite honest with you. But I guess to me, what I'm getting at is I can see how the one game can draw in casual viewers, like Brendy said. But I think at the end of the day, as much as NFL wants new fans, NHL wants new fans, MLS wants new fans, I think when you start alienating the people who enjoy the game for what it is, you're causing a problem. Like if hockey ever goes to a one-game format, they won't. But if they ever go to a one-game format, I literally might jump off a bridge, to be quite honest with you. Because honestly, anybody who wins in those series are paper champions to me, and you can't tell me otherwise. Because
that's what I'm saying.
It's like
I feel like the fucking the Coyotes are kind of good now, but like the Coyotes of a few years ago could have beat the Penguins any given night.
Yeah, Ottawa was in the conference finals 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what would have happened if they actually would have won that game and won the cup? Would any of the bad stuff that's happening with them right now be justified or different? Like, what would have happened? All because of one game? Like, it's weird to me. I'm all for a series, but I know soccer is grueling. One of or if not the most grueling sport in the world. So to me, one game makes sense for them. And when I watched the Union, and because I especially had a stake in it being a Union fan, quote unquote, I was invested, absolutely, and felt like I was completely fulfilled and, absolute certainty that they lost that game. Like, wasn't a fluke. No doubt for me personally. So
right, yeah. So I mean, I think that it does depend on the sport. And I think I don't really see too many big changes coming across the board.
No.
Like I think maybe you will see a tinkering, and maybe the NBA does go back to a 5 games for the first year or something, like, just as an example. But yeah, I mean, you can't have a 3-game. You can't even have a 3-game series for like football or something, because I mean that's too much.
Forget it.
Yeah, so
Forget it.
you kind of
Forget
deal
it.
with it, but. I guess baseball was the one to bring up because it's not ruling in terms of, like, contact and stuff like that, like the other sports. So that's kind of why that's like the debate. But yeah, it's just something that I don't know. I don't like it. I'll be honest. Like, I don't even like the second the divisional round five. Jesus, I'm tripping over my words here, but the divisional round 5-game series for baseball, like, I think that should be 7 as well.
Mhm.
But it's kind of all again. It's looking at a true winner or building excitement, and leagues have to balance that.
Mhm.
But again, that that topic strictly came up literally because, like I said, I added it because of the frustration with the Pirates and the wild card game. And I did want to look at it with other sports, and it just so happened again that MLS this year changed their format.
Mhm.
But with that, we're going to wrap up that segment and end it as always with our picks, which has transitioned from only NFL picks to we are going across leagues now, which has been nice. This week we have 5 games. Boys, remember to send me them so I don't have to fucking go back.
Yep.
Brendy, I'm looking at you. Write them down now. But we have college football. We have the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Florida Gators. In the NFL, we have the London game. I just realized it's a 9:30 kickoff. The Texans versus the Jaguars. We got the Sunday night football game with the Patriots and the Ravens, and then we moved to college basketball, which is exciting. Starting out on one of my favorite times of the year. What they've been doing, I know they started this last year. I don't know if it was before, but essentially the first night of the season, they have the top 4 square off against each other, so that them play it out, and it's been good. So we have the Michigan State versus the University of Kentucky and Kansas versus Duke. We start with the Dogs versus the Gators.
Dogs.
Georgia favored by 6 points. I will start off. I have Georgia winning this game 30-23. Obviously, Georgia dropped down in the rankings after their loss to South Carolina, then proceeded to look absolutely terrible against Kentucky. I do think this is a game they win. I do have to give it to Florida, though, losing their starting quarterback, Felipe Franks, and I think their second string, too, if I'm not mistaken. But Kyle Trask just came in and done a really good job for them. But I do have Georgia winning this game. Bobby, what do you have?
Okay. I think I have Georgia winning this one as well. I got them. I actually have this being a barn burner until the absolute end. I got 24-21. With the possibility of overtime, to be quite honest with you. I'll go that far and make that bold of a bet, which would be a lot of fun. It's going to be in Florida, so crowd is going to be popping. It's going to be good. I still like Jake Fromm. I always thought he was a decent quarterback, so it'd be interesting to see him play. I actually might be able to watch this game. Not sure.
This is, like, by the way, the only good fucking game this weekend. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah. So no, I definitely got Georgia winning this one, 24-21, but it's gonna be a pretty fun game. You might even see some overtime out of this one.
Listen, Tyler, I don't understand how you can diss the Tennessee versus UAB game that is coming tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. UAB is probably going to win. Anyway, so I'm actually going to go against y'all. I'm going to say Florida is going to win 24-20. And
no Gators.
My reasoning for this is, like, ever since Georgia has lost, I guess there's only been one other game since. So, like, Georgia lost to South Carolina, a team they probably should have beat by about 2 or 3 touchdowns. And then the game against Kentucky, Georgia won 21-0. It was 0-0 at halftime. Like, Georgia did not show up.
That game was I turned that game off.
I'm not even kidding. Like, I had work I didn't have work the next morning, but I had been awake for like almost 18 hours, like until the game had started. So I was really tired, but I was like, all right, this might be a good game. Like, I'll watch it in bed. I literally fell asleep at halftime, like not on purpose. Like I'm pretty sure I was that bored and also that tired, but it was not a good game. And something about Georgia just did not stick right with me. Like I don't know if Kentucky was just having a really good game, but like Georgia was not going anywhere with the run game or the pass.
I was gonna say that game was also a mess too. Like it was pouring. So
well, it wasn't. Was it real? I didn't notice it was pouring. Are you thinking of a different game?
No, I definitely know it was raining that game for sure. Like it was very muddy.
Sorry
yeah.
Sorry, real quick. I just want to interrupt. Sorry for the music that the stream might have heard there. I accidentally opened something. My bad. Anyway.
But I that's kind of why I'm starting to lean towards Florida. You know, Florida is a very very good football team. They've already beaten a 7th ranked Auburn. I think they're gonna defeat an 8th ranked Georgia. And I think this is going to be probably the best game of the week, like you said, Ty. So
yeah, it's the only ranked versus ranked game.
So I'll go with Florida over Georgia, 24-20.
Next game we have, like I said, Jacksonville and Houston in London. I'm going Jacksonville, and I'm telling you why. I'm only going for them because it's in London, because they are phenomenal in London. Like that's literally my only reasoning.
Do we think that London is going to get behind Minshew as much as the America has?
Oh, honestly? Dude, like that guy, like he looks like an actor. Dude.
I think NFL fans in general are getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just like again the mustaches look like everybody loves him, and he is a really funny guy too. So I have Jacksonville winning 27-21. Also, I don't know if you guys seen, but Deshaun Watson got kicked in the face last week.
Yes.
And
what the fuck?
His eye looks real fucked up. So I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he's playing, but
you can only see half the mustache now.
Yeah, I have Jacksonville winning 27-21.
I'm actually gonna join you on this one. I'm gonna take Jacksonville as well. One yes for their London performance. Apparently, London is their home. Actually, it's funny. So now we know that Watt's out. He's gone for the year, right? So he's gone.
Yeah.
And then now Deshaun Watson might is he actually like hurt? Like is he on the report for that?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure he'll be fine. But Jacksonville's been kind of turning it up lately, especially with Minshew now. So I think Jacksonville's going to win this one. So for this one, I will say, I'll say 20-14 Jacksonville.
Okay.
And again, I'm going to go against you guys. One of the big reasons is the fact, and one of the big reasons y'all had Jacksonville is because they're playing in London. I just think Houston is overall the better team. But with Gardner Minshew, playing in that kind of new London environment, I feel like I don't think it's going to click as well as you guys are kind of making it out to be. So I'm going to go with the betting lines here. I'm going to say Houston's going to win by a touchdown. I'll say 20-14.
Ooh, you just reminded me. I forgot to mention. Yeah, Houston's favored by 1.5 points in that game.
And then Vegas.
Yeah, I was gonna say the lines are changing.
I get my odds from Bovada. I don't know where you get yours.
They're relatively the same. They're relatively the same.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the last NFL game we have is New England versus Baltimore. New England's favored by 3. I have Baltimore winning. I have Baltimore winning 31-27. I think Lamar Jackson is going to show his legs again, and really give the New England defense a problem that they haven't seen yet. And I just feel like this game is this game in Baltimore or New England? I'm actually
in Baltimore,
sure.
Because I was actually going to go to the game originally.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm pretty sure it's in Baltimore, which obviously helps. So yeah, I have them winning 31-27.
You're a traitor. Okay, so
I'm a traitor.
Yeah. So. All right, so I obviously have New England winning this game, and this is not at discount to Baltimore. Baltimore is a good team, and I really like Lamar Jackson. So I said earlier, or I don't know if I said on the show, if it was the pre-show conversation that me and Tyler were having, but I was talking about how my roommate, who is a Ravens fan, was saying that Lamar is going to expose the Pats defense for what they are, because he claims that the easy schedule is what got them there. He's got a point, sort of. I'll say that the Pats defense being able to turn up like they have has definitely in part been due to how easy their schedule has been. I mean, that Browns sequence was just fucking terrible to watch. Christ, Nick Chubb, what were you doing out there, Butterfingers? And I don't know, but I still think the defense has a lot more talent than everyone gives them credit for. And I don't think they'll shut down Lamar Jackson completely. It's going to be really interesting to see how they play him, because he's definitely a variable quarterback that New England really doesn't take on very often, especially recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play him. I'm sure Lamar Jackson's still going to get the first downs off his scrambles and rushing. So with that being said, I still have New England winning though, because I think the Ravens can collapse under New England. Although I do think it's going to be kind of close, and I actually do think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. So I actually have New England winning 34-27 in Baltimore.
I also have it as a bit of a shootout, not that high of a shootout, but I think I think the Ravens, like the way they've been playing, they can make it interesting. Not really much for me to add here, but I'll just say New England's going to win by a touchdown, 30-23.
We'll round off with college basketball. Like I said, MSU versus Kentucky. I'm just going to do both these games at once for me. First game, MSU versus Kentucky. I'll have Michigan State winning. They are the number one ranked team in the nation right now by a lot, actually, and it's a little like in terms of voting, it's kind of crazy. And I know they have a lot of returning players and a lot of veterans there now, but I don't know. It just seems like it's by a lot. I do think by the end of the year, they won't be the number one team. I think I don't know. I guess that's not a hot take or anything, but I think you will see them lose a couple of games.
You're getting on anyway, because fuck you.
But I have MSU winning, and then the Kansas Duke game, I have Duke winning. Brendy just told me before the show that, of course, for the next recruiting season, they just got one of the top prospects, which is not fucking surprising because it's Duke, and Duke is always good. By the way, a quick side note: I thought I heard something about like Kansas getting allegations against them, and then I haven't heard anything since. So I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, I have
sounds like Brendy's on it already, so I'm gonna.
I'm reading it, so continue.
But Bobby, you can go with those games.
So I got Kentucky beating Michigan State on this one. One, because fuck Michigan State, and two, because I always feel like Kentucky always manages to kind of prove everybody wrong. Like so they've been so good for so long, and top program in the NCAA. But then when it's like, oh, this is finally going to be their down year, you might see them fall from the ranks a little bit. They always show up and just end up being the best team just regardless. And I think Kentucky's going to do that again this year, even though Michigan State does look scary. So I got Kentucky winning that one. And then I got Duke beating Kansas. I actually like both of these teams, but I actually really enjoy watching Duke a lot of the time. So I'm just going to go with fan bias here and just go with Duke.
And Brendy rounded out.
So yeah, it's kind of funny how you mentioned that Michigan State was so like highly like number one ranked. Like it's not even close. Like I think they get like 60 out of 65 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 60. Yeah.
But I do think Michigan State is gonna be a very good team, but something about Kentucky, like they haven't performed. Kentucky has not performed as well in recent years as they have been. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that they will go ahead and pull off not necessarily an early upset, but like kind of an early like kind of wake up for Michigan State. I think Michigan State is going to lose this game, but I think they're going to rebound and still have a good season. So I'll take I'll take Kentucky and the win. And then Kansas and Duke. Kansas is another program where it's like you kind of expected them to do a little bit more. It's especially given how they had some of the nation's top recruits. It's kind of funny. Like we're talking about college football and college basketball. Like how they have two programs that are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Kansas having probably like a top 5 basketball program, and then like probably the worst FBS football program in the country.
Yeah.
But Duke, can never. Duke is a title contender every single year. I feel like, Jesus, it's incredible. I wonder what they're gonna do when their coach retires. But
I was literally just thinking, like, until like Mike Krzyzewski like either retires or dies on the court, because that's where we were talking about Belichick. Like, they're gonna bury him under the stadium.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of one of those situations. Like, until he leaves, and I feel like after he leaves, like, it's still gonna be the same thing. Duke is just the premier for basketball.
Yeah, so I will say I'll have Duke win this game 67-60, just solely based on I feel like Duke's gonna win. That's all.
And that has been our show.
Long one, Christ.
Of course, But anytime we talk about the NFL, we just go on a tangent, which I love because it brings up good conversation.
You know what's great? Real quick, I'm sorry, I meant to say this when we were doing it, but you know what's great? There's really not as much controversy in the NFL this year that we had to mention in our midseason preview. I feel like.
Well, there's
stuff there. There's stuff there.
You're right. There's not as much.
So I just want to say that was a very fruitful and fulfilling discussion that didn't leave a bad taste in my
mouth. Boner acquired.
Oh my god, that's a clip right there. That is a clip.
New soundbite, Bobby.
That is definitely gotta be. Oh my god, that's definitely one. I just want to mention again, episode 40 next week will be our trivia episode. We will let you know as soon as possible. We'll let you know as soon as possible when that date will be, and let you know. But if you'd like to get in contact with us,
girlfriend, not me.
We're on Twitter and Facebook at Come Play Network. That has been the show. Thank you for listening. And like I said, we'll all be back next week for episode 40, Zach included. But until then, we'll see you next time for episode 40 of the Come Play podcast.